Hello, welcome back to the Entrepreneur Investor Connection. Today I'm talking about how to find the best opportunities right now. I'm on Clubhouse Live, I'm on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, everywhere. And part of why I'm going to start doing this, I think, every Sunday morning because I want to make sure everybody understands all these great opportunities coming around and start to work to take advantage of them, right? So so when I think about what I've been seeing in the spaces of technology within crypto, within blockchain, within equity crowdfunding. Hey Agustino, who tell the world about who you are, and let's talk about what type of opportunities you're seeing, and let me see how we can maybe help each other.
Yeah, my name's Agostino. I'm a venture capitalist. I like to invest in all different kinds of industries, big data, AI. Lately, I've been really looking into space, but generally, just any type of disruptive innovation is my area of interest.
And right now, are you looking, because you said AI, are you looking at blockchain specifically, any crypto projects?
Yeah, we're looking at some crypto projects. A company approached us. So I'm out of Canada, Toronto.
Okay.
And they're developing these types of NFTs for their platform. So it's still in its early stages right now. So I'm meeting with a couple of the co-founders this week. So I really can't give you too much information yet.
Sure.
I'm still getting involved in it.
I know how that world works. I'm in it as well. I guess from your perspective, I get to speak to a few angel investors, VC, venture capitalists. How do you feel about the NFT space right now? Are you making the correlation to the year 2000 when, it was in a bubble? Do you feel like we're in an NFT bubble and there's going to be a lot of like high valuations that don't end up to, play out?
Yeah, I think that's the billion-dollar question, no pun intended. I think, I believe the space is emerging. I guess that would be the proper way the term to use. It's an emerging space. And I think, this whole digital wallet movement is big. And our firm is definitely positioning itself to see where the early players are going to be. Because it's tough, when an industry is emerging, it's still fragmented. And it's hard to find those players that you think are going to, go into that typical S curve. I think it's still very risky.
Yes.
But I think the players that are moving into place need to be, we need to merit their attention. We need to see who they are and what they can do. And I think it's not a fad. I think it's something that's emerging. And I think investors like us are definitely paying attention to it.
Yeah, and Kerry, if you want to chime in on anything we're talking about, jump in at any time. But I think right now I'm looking at it, and I work with different investors, entrepreneurs, and I feel very 2000 again. I do look at the valuations and think sometimes these market caps are really high on some of these projects. But again, we're in this weird space where there's a new everything being created at the same time, right? We're talking about a new monetization system, period, right? With crypto, and less than 5% of the world even has crypto right now. And these market caps are based on most of the world not even being in the game, right? So you could see, part of me, when I look at the market caps, I think, well, maybe these numbers are not so crazy because most of the world, when most of the world comes into this, it could 10, 20, 50x. Who knows? The real thing to figure out is, because I was there in 2000 as well, how are we right now? Like, it feels like right now we're building the guts of the future, and we see the guts. So it's disgusting. The UX is bad. The user experience is just horrible for most humans. Technologists and people like us that work in the spaces are able to navigate easier, but most of the public, they're not going to get there for a while. So it's kind of like VR, AR, same idea, where of course everybody knows we're going there, but how long will it take, right? So as an investor, you probably have to have a further timeline, right? When it comes to NFT stuff, you may be looking at, the average investment is 7 to 10 years. you may be thinking closer to 10 and up, right? Or is that how you look at it?
Carrie, you want to? You can jump in anytime. I don't want to monopolize.
Oh no! I'm listening because I have to say I've been in my own technology startup for this last 6 years. When I was hearing about Bitcoins and NFT years ago, I started trying to figure it out, and then it became in the too hard pile. And so, to Miguel's logic of really when is going to be the sweet spot, I think there's a lot of people talking and they're creating the bubble, but I would really love to know how many of those people are actually putting funds in that are making it move. So I think there's a lot of talk, and timing is everything. And I have to say, I got turned off from the whole thing when somebody was trying to explain it to me, and they were like, yeah, but I said, okay, so when I'm up, can I get out like the stock market? And they're like, no, you can only go $5,000 a day or something. I was like, well, that takes me out. I mean,
well, that's actually not true, though. That's actually not true.
This is some information I got 5 years ago, 6 years
Oh,
ago.
got it. Okay.
And so that was my, like, I was like, oh no, I'm not interested in that, because the whole reason to get in something so risky is to get out when it's up. And so meanwhile, I've been creating my own technology and moving and grooving.
Why don't you tell everybody what your technology is, if you can talk about it? I'm not sure if it's...
Oh no, I can talk about it. It's out. It is out. We have huge clients. It was something my daughter and I literally made up. She was a director of events out of New York doing big things like with Oprah and the Olympics and Moet Hennessy. And I was an HR executive. And one weekend we had a clumsy weekend of networking in our own demographic in 2 different cities. And we were like, it has to be easier. We got on the Google and it wasn't, so we made it up. And we made it up as non-technical folks. So it's human first and technology second. It's called Mixtros. It is a SaaS platform that allows...
How do you spell it? How do you spell it? M-I?
M-I-X-T-R-O-Z. It's all in my bio. It allows event organizers across our 3 verticals, which were in colleges, conferences, conventions, and business enterprise with 500 or more employees. And the word organizer is generic. Whoever is putting together an event for 50 to 50,000 people, live or virtually, we enable them to socially engineer the groupings of the people that have come or are participating in their event while they collect custom data in real time. So what we are not Zoom, we are not micro go-to-meetings, we're not Hop-In, we're not webinar, Clubhouse, which people come to congregate, and it's usually a speaking one-to-many, but there's not a seamless way for people within that context to connect, and we have created it. And we have clients from Amazon, the Babson College, to I saw something from Duke come in the other day, running USA, and up until this past year, it was truly my daughter and myself and our dev team. We just closed the bridge round, and so we've been hiring up this year. Mixtros 3.0 will be out in this.
Congrats!
And so we are just been a wild ride that I never would have left my corporate, more than well-paying role, or she would have left hers if we would have known what this road was going to be. We actually thought that we had no idea what entrepreneurship was, like zero. We're not entrepreneurs. My parents, their parents, you will go to college even if you don't want to, and you will get in somebody's company and work hard and be successful. And that's what I was doing, and that's what my daughter was doing, and let alone knowing anything about tech. But we did think if you worked hard, had a good idea, stuff would come. We had no idea about funding for Black women. And, how do you get VCs? And if you look at my bio, you'll see we have figured it out. We started with $200,000, friends and family. When Black women were raising $36,000, we did an angel round. We won Rise of the Rest. Arlen is in our stack. Black Star Fund, which led this bridge round. Bronze Valley. I mean, we have family offices, individuals, friends and family, and of course we bootstrap, but we knew none of this 5 years ago. So
amazing that's story. So as a unicorn, just from everything I hear so far, what do you think you need to get to the next level? Like what, and you know, we should definitely connect. I have a nonprofit that works with underrepresented founders, but I'm working in
We're gonna call them underestimated.
underestimated. Yes. So and actually we have a partnership with Olin College, which is a sister college of Babson, right? So we should definitely connect. But what are you looking for as a person that you see you are on the path, right? What do you feel like you need? I'm looking at your website right now. I have it up on YouTube Live. What are you need? What do you need right now from a community?
Well, right now, everything takes money, right? So when we became the 37th and 38th Black females to ever, and I want to say that 20 times, and I say it all the time, to raise $1 million in pre-seed and tech, we did that in 2018, and it was good for us, but it sucks. Just $1 million, and we actually had a product. We had people that were paying for our beta. We had all of that stuff and $1 million. So we were able to get Mixtros launched and moving with $1.3 million, but never at one time. It was $3 here, $45 here. You know, like seriously.
Yep.
And we did it. And aside of our convertible note debt, we don't have debt. Everybody was getting paid in full. We made it happen, but we were doing that on pure hustle. And so then we had to drop back and put processes in place, and we were just live event focused. Then March the 11th, which is the date we realized something ain't right last year, it made us, we didn't pivot. We actually just sped up our product roadmap because we had clients saying, hey, we like your idea, but we don't like spending a lot of money on travel for people to come live. Let me know when you get a virtual product. So we sped that up and stood it up and had it going by May with pre-clients. We were able to experience a 300% revenue increase from the second quarter to the third quarter. But then we, again, very, very lean. So this bridge round that we just closed has enabled us. We, for the very first time, have brought our internal tech team, I had, and this is God, favor, blessing, vibes, positivity. I met our developers in Vegas at App Nation inside of CES 3 months after we came up with this crazy idea, and they've been with us from the very beginning. So we literally just started transitioning our tech team inside. The good news is the CEO of that company is on our cap table. So the transition has gone well. Just hired customer success manager. So we're putting those people and things in place. And so now it truly is, we're redoing the website so that it can really be SaaS. Like you can look at what you want, start clicking credit cards and all of that stuff. So client acquisition, our best client acquisition to this point, people who go to events that use Mixtros, they're so happy that they've been able not only to meet people in a smaller group. You walk in a room with 500 people or on a Zoom call, what you gonna do with that? But when your event organizer puts you in groups of 3 to 10 based on something, and we feel like the event organizer who pays for Mixtros, they should know better than anybody why people are coming to their events or why they've been summoned to come if it's like an HR college thing. So it's all about client acquisition now. And even in this time that we're hiring people, getting people on board, doing these enhancements, we still have organic people coming in our funnel, but we need to speed that up because my goal is a Series A before 2021.
So you need event creators to use your platform. You still raising funds, or you waiting to the Series A?
No, so we closed at bridge round. So we so now Series A that we're getting ready for, and it's going to be an impactful Series A. And again, when we say the word organizer, just for people hearing, it's not like, don't think chicken and cheap wine. It is anybody who is bringing 50 to 50,000 people together, and when it is time that you want them to network, virtual happy hour, build project teams. We have a professor at Georgia Tech that uses Mixtros to take her large classroom block of 200 students, put them in groups of 5 based on her input, and not just, you know, the favorite students or all the jocks or whoever getting together. So an event organizer is just whoever is creating. And
so I may actually have proposition made live here. Basically, I have a nonprofit. I told you where we work with underrepresented, estimated, all these different terms, right? Yeah, estimated. And we have our demo day coming up in a few weeks. We were planning on using another platform, but we should talk because we're definitely going to have a lot of investors, definitely more than 50 people, probably like 1,000 people will show up to that. Everybody here is invited. But we're going to do a demo day. And part of what we do is our nonprofit works with not only the underrepresented, underestimated, but we also bring youth from communities of color. I'm from the Bronx, so we bring a lot of youth from the Bronx, and they intern at these startups. So they're going to help us with the event, and I would love for them to see someone like you, and what you're doing as well. So we should definitely connect. And you know, you seem to be rocking. I definitely would. I was on the website. I've showed everybody because I'm also live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. So I showed my audience your platform, and it looks amazing. I think the next thing for everyone is to go and just check it out yourself. It's Mixtros, right?
Yeah, mixer and introduction smushed together. MIXTROZ. And I definitely would love to talk to you offline because we also have a sponsor play. So if you have a sponsor, there are in-app sponsor banners that are clickable for them. They can put in an interstitial that
Yes, all right.
have to see. And on top of that, we recommend to our event organizers, if you have a sponsor like Ford Motor Company, instead of just saying, Ford, thank you for doing this, everybody thank Ford, you know, click your little mics. Instead of doing that, allow them to ask 2 questions out of your input of 10. And it could be, how old is your current car? You know, 0 to 5 years, 6 to 10, etc. And what kind of car do you drive? An SUV, premium, truck, whatever. And if you were to hand that over, the names and emails and those responses over to Ford Motor Company, you have now given them something more valuable than oil, which also pumps up the price of their sponsorship. So
love it. I love it. I love it.
And to reach out, and yeah.
I just DM'd you on Instagram already. Anybody have questions for Kerry?
Kerry, if you're interested in licensing this in Canada, my firm would like to, maybe we can talk about maybe bringing it into Canada.
Yes, and actually there is a group of people who have used it in Canada because it's once you have the subscription, we're available on iOS, Android, and via a web application. So no, I would love to have a conversation.
Okay, maybe you could send me an email or DM me, and we can start a conversation.
Do you have your? Yeah, I see your. I actually had gotten on your Instagram, but your messages aren't open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but all my information is on my bio, and it's open.
I'll reach out to you.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. So you're already making entrepreneur investor connections. I guess anybody else have any questions for Kerry or Augustino? I don't know if you guys were here when Augustino was talking, but he's a venture capitalist out of Canada. He works in the emerging tech space. And of course, you just heard Kerry, who has a startup product for virtual events and networking. Of course, I want this to be as interactive as possible, conversational as possible. So anybody have any questions for any of them? All right. If not, how about I start asking? Oh, Paco, Francisco, you have a question?
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a question for Kerry, but the energy that she exudes, it's incredible. No matter what her product is, I would buy anything she's selling. She's full of spirit and knowledge, and apparently she's done a lot of work. So she didn't get here crawling. She's probably been marathoning for quite a while. So the thought that I get is that I'm on the website, so I'm going to probably mute myself and then see the little video in which I see her beautiful face. Because I also have been spending a lot of time in the European Clubhouse rooms, particularly the ones coming out of Spain. And of course, I've been blown away with the level of of professionals and successful entrepreneurs coming out of Spain and Germany and Switzerland. And so I'll inform myself. I'm a lifelong student of things, so I do a lot of studying. So I'm gonna listen to Carrie a little bit, and then if I come up with other suggestions, I will do so. This is Paco, and I finished speaking.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I gotta just say, thank you so much. It's funny, these small rooms, people keep going towards the big rooms, but I like the small rooms because I like being able to talk to people. So here's my big audacious goal that I'm really close to pulling off, and I'm doing it as an experiment with Clubhouse. What if, think of those rooms that you're in and there's 500 people, 1,000 people in it, and only 25 people actually get to talk. The moderators are talking between themselves, but you all have the same interest, or else you wouldn't be in that club. What if post that room, you had the ability to meet the people, other people in that room in real time in a virtual chat room? That's what Mixtros does. And at the same time, the event organizer or whoever has their credentials actually can jump room to room. And you can even focus it where you can see, all entrepreneurs that are interested in tech are in room 3, and you can physically jump to that room. And so, and again, I talk about it because it's a proprietary thing, and we've been out in the market. It's just that Black female is a real thing. And plus I'm a non-millennial, so it's just taking a minute. But this is definitely a watershed moment for us. And the last thing I'll say is that T-shirt that I have on, that's me facing front, my daughter in the back. Black Female Founders Fund Me Got Seed. We literally made that T-shirt up on a whim of like, okay, how are we going to stand out at this? It was collision in New Orleans in 2017. And the reason we did it is nobody could seem to understand why 2 Black women were at technology conferences, and we actually would have people come up to us like we were Oprah and Gail. Oh my God, here's some African princesses that are throwing money to everybody. Or we've had people come up to us and say, hey, honey, gin and tonic. I was like, I really don't know what that means. Are you asking me, do I want Bombay Sapphire and tonic and extra lime? And so the conference lost their mind. White males were coming up to us mad, like, how dare you wear this? I'm like, how dare you get all the money and you don't even have a good idea? That T-shirt got us our first article in Forbes. And even that we thought was going to be like a moment. And it really wasn't. So again, resilience. That's why, Paco, I sound so energetic because we've been through it, and there's many times we should have quit. Because again, I was making a whole bunch of money in my career, as was my daughter. We could have easily went back to that, but sometimes you have to tough it out, not for yourself, for others. So I'm always saying on every stage, oh, by the way, that I'm paid to speak on, I say to women, don't just shatter the damn ceiling. You have to take the shards of glass out because people are still bleeding behind us. So that is what I'm here to do ultimately. And I hope I'm at the point where I can do that full time. Remove all of the shards of glass from the damn ceiling. Thank you. That's it, for real.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Carrie, what part of the country do you find yourself in? And the reason is because, man, I'm a hugger. I'm an 82-year-old hugger. I said, I want to go hug that sister right now. Where are you?
I am in the South. Where are you?
I'm in New York. I'm in the Bronx. We're in the South.
Oh, that's so funny. I'm in Birmingham, but my daughter, when she was in her role, she was in New York City. So
we lost you. We lost you a little bit.
Yeah, I think she's having an internet issue.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she'll be back. Amazing story, man.
Amazing story, amazing lady. She's got a product. She's like a pit bull on a bone. And that lady and her daughter and those women are gonna just, she's talking about a glass ceiling. For women like that, there is no glass ceiling.
No doubt.
They skip the glass ceiling. They're They don't have to deal with charts and jagged karma. They go beyond that. She's the kind of person that gets an 82-year-old. And right now I can go back to the track and I can run a marathon in New York minute.
So, Kerry, have you ever, hopefully you're back and you have good internet. Have you ever thought about equity crowdfunding? I like the innovation of equity crowdfunding because it allows people like us to own part of projects like yours. I feel like when we have the unicorns like you reach the heights you get to, I wish there was more of a way for the community to participate in that with you. But right now, like when you go for your Series A, of course, you're going to go to venture capitalists, which is just big time money, which it's really hard to even find an accredited minority investor, period, let alone a VC fund. There's very, very few of them. So that's what I really like about equity crowdfunding for ideas like yours. Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah, I have to tell you, for some reason, you know how Clubhouse, your signal gets janky. We tried to do that early on. The problem is when you're doing it with technology and you don't have the ability, like people want a free t-shirt or I want something with it. We weren't successful at it. And again, this was 4 or 5 years ago. I certainly know how well equity fundraising works today because Arlen Hamilton is one of our investors, and she just raised that $5 million
in a day, in like one day. Yeah,
well, it was a little more than a day, but it was like maybe a week overall to get to that $5 million because she was capped, and then the cap lifted, and then she
did like 1 million in a day, then she did the 5. Yeah. I actually gave her 100. I think I gave her like $100, $200. I put it in there.
I actually threw some money in that ring because she's not raising it for herself. She's raising it so people could invest alongside her. But what I have told people, because when people see something that worked, they don't understand the work behind it. It took her 5 years to be able to get that kind of swell in the market that people recognize what she does and appreciate it. I'm happy that she is one of our investors, and so is Kwame Anku, because they were investing Black and women before it was cool. And even when people said, no, that's not our thesis, or give us 27 more pages or whatever, they were doing it before it was cool. And guess what? Their portfolios are winning. But I do want to go back to Paco real quick, because I was saying my daughter was in New York when she was doing the director of events thing for a company called Strategic. So they own Lalbo and the Marquee and Tao. And so New York used to be my spot. So I'm very familiar with the Bronx and the places. She actually moved from that job back to our home when we lived in Nashville, so that we could run this business. So again, it has been a resiliency tour that I hope pays off, not just financially for myself and our investors, but for people coming from behind us. Because being an entrepreneur, specifically in tech, you should not have to be part of the elite. And so that's the part we have to start working on. And we got to get faster. Nobody has 500 years to wait. We got to get faster, because at the end of the day, if you don't have money, you can't push your dream forward. We were able to bootstrap some. If we wouldn't have had that friends and family round, and then the couple dollars here and there, and I'm grateful for it, but I should have been able to get $1 million all in one and without having a product.
Your story, just the fact that you were able to raise a friends and family round. We deal with so many entrepreneurs that is not even an option. So you have had, like, your story is incredible. Actually, I want to interview you another day. We'll talk about that. But anybody else have any questions for Kerry? Amazing story.
Kerry, just one quick comment. I absolutely love the idea of pulling the conversations and forwarding them on Zoom calls. The one comment, a little bit of feedback, take it or not. The name organizer has a political connotation to it, and in running hackathons all over the world with 3-day startup, the point person, the MC, is called a facilitator. I don't know. That's just sort of my perspective here. It's a little point of feedback, and I don't know. Hopefully, maybe it makes things a little bit more, amenable for everyone.
I have to say, Andrew, because I keep it 100. When you first started saying that, I was like, wow, here's Andrew who has heard about Mixtros 5 minutes, and we've been using the word organizer this long, and you can never please everybody. But I have to tell you, that might be the ticket, because the problem is when we use the word organizer, and I don't affiliate it with anything political, it's just like, who in the hell is putting this together? The problem is people go to that chicken and wine thing versus a facilitator seems to be more generic. So that's why before people respond to stuff, they need to shut up. Because I really was about to say, but thank you so much. Like, I'm being 100%. It's like, maybe that's the word. We have been grappling with that time to explain to people what we owe. She means they have to have cheese and crackers, and that's not it. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Andrew. The words are tagged to us. So we're people of different colors, black, browns, like I am. I'm an Afro Puerto Rican, and I've been an organizer all my life in civil rights before some of you were born. So it's a word that comes pregnant with a lot of baggage. I see Carrie as an inventor, as an innovator, as an actualizer. Those are words that sometimes is used mostly by the Caucasian community, and it's not given to us. And God forbid, if you're a woman, forget about it. How can you be an innovator? How can you be an inventor? So we gotta use the words that are going to get us to where we want to go, because some of those words come in with already preconceived ideas and notions of what we are, and I always say that racism that is subtle is more hurtful, and sometimes we put words and we don't realize what we're doing. So yay for Andrew. Good pick.
And Andrew's a part of Meta Bronx too, so he's definitely we call ally, right? So so I definitely think, that's what's cool about Clubhouse, is just such an amazing product to be able to be in these rooms, to meet you, Carrie, have conversation like this. It's just awesome on a Sunday morning. Anybody else have any questions for Carrie or anyone else here? All right, so let's talk about anything else. Like my next, the reason why I created this room today is because I've been seeing a lot of things. Me and Paco work together, me and Caesar work together, and we and me and Andrew work together in different ways too. And we've just been seeing all these different opportunities. And part of what I wanted to come today to talk about was, how are you guys starting to really look at the 2021 business entrepreneur opportunities and investor opportunities? Where do you see the biggest opportunities? Of course, we see crypto, everybody talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these startups. I actually think decentralized finance is probably the biggest opportunity out of everything happening right now, more than NFTs and everything else. And I'm really trying to look at that space. Of course, there's many others, but I just wanted to kind of get your guys' feedback on what you're seeing, and maybe just start having a dialogue on where are these opportunities and what can people do to get more of them, to get into more of them.
May I speak just for a second, Miguel?
Yeah, for sure.
Hello, Miguel, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think your question is fundamentally wonderful, of the vision that we see for the future, because the opportunities that I see are just endless, and of course, Clubhouse offers us all an opportunity to participate, as Carrie said, in these small rooms where we're able to perhaps speak a little openly about all the journeys that we take. I'm a baby at 82 and I'm a lifelong learner at 82. But I'm also a Zen Buddhist priest who always is looking not only to include all the voices, but also to create balance in our lives. So you take a wonderful situation like Carrie and her daughter has. I always say, take a look at the opportunities, but take a look at yourself. Take a look at how you're taking care of yourself. Whether it's nutrition, whether it's exercise, whether it's a meditation, mindfulness practice. How are you taking care of who you are? Because in my opinion, my humble opinion is, if you can't take care of yourself in its totality, you cannot take care of everybody. You cannot take care of anything. And I prescribe and I say your business will suffer, your deals will suffer, because joy and happiness is not going to come necessarily because you have a shitload of money in the bank. It's going to come because you've accomplished something. It's going to come because you've done well. Yes, you do have a lot of money in the bank, but you also have been able to, on the journey, take care of yourself, take care of your soul, take care of the ones you love around you, and find a level of bliss and joyfulness in what you do. If at the end of the day you got all the money and you're miserable, I have a lot of people with a lot of money who are miserable, and it's sad. So going back to your question, opportunities, yes, but always remember that self-care is never a selfish act, and in my opinion, is proportionately related to all the successes that you are deserving of having and that you will have in 21. This is Paco, and I have finished speaking.
So Paco, me and Paco have met. It's been a few years now. I met Paco when he was before he was 80. So it's been a long time. And I think you've brought that into my world, right? Like the whole meditation. Before, me and Paco were partners. We work on a bunch of different things. Before every meeting, he shuts it down and we have to stop and for 3 minutes meditate. And a lot of times I feel like he lies and makes it like 10 minutes because 3 minutes when you're meditating feels like forever. But it's just a good mindset to be around and to start thinking about. Because I grew up in the Bronx and nobody taught me this, right? So Paco is a Zen Buddhist priest, and he really understands this world and how it connects to success in entrepreneurship and all the things he's done. So I definitely love that aspect of it. And we didn't do it here, but eventually maybe we do a meditation to start it off. But I guess when we talk about these opportunities, that even me and Paco have been discussing almost every day, the things that we're starting to get involved in. I guess I want to start a conversation with people here and just have what are the questions that you have with current things that you see. And maybe we could start. We had our venture capitalists here. We got angel investors. We got different people here, different industries. This is your time to ask your questions. So I definitely want to open up the space for that. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but if you have any questions, come up and ask about, what you see and how could you get involved in anything. Nobody? All right. So I'll keep it going. But again, stop me if anything. I'm gonna start talking about some of the opportunities that we've been seeing. The biggest one I'm gonna start with is this whole decentralized finance movement. It's been around for a very, very short time. This year is the explosion of it. And what I mean by that is it really starts out with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is this cryptocurrency. Everybody knows what Bitcoin is, hopefully. But what it represents is a movement that is really powerful for people of color, for people anywhere in the world, actually. It's the movement towards the global society. And what decentralized finance is setting up is it's literally setting us up for every one of us to be our own bank. And why that's powerful is because, especially when you come from communities of color and even what Kerry was just talking about, for her to find funding was very hard for her. But imagine if all of us were our own banks and we could borrow money from our assets. So Bitcoin is an asset, right? So if you buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, you can get a $5,000 loan off that Bitcoin in seconds. And that has never been possible before. And that's what the decentralized finance world is creating. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So when I create my content, I tell people to buy Bitcoin, it's a multi-layer, there's a multi-layer reason for that. It's not just because I believe Bitcoin will go to $1 million one day, and I do believe that. So, and I believe that cryptocurrency is the currency of the future, and it's the Uber to taxi cab companies where the banks don't even see it coming yet. So I want people to be in that world as fast as possible. But then when you really look at the way the world works, it really works on leveraging debt in good ways, right? In the minority communities we come from, debt is a bad word, right? Like you get into debt, you're screwed. But rich people use debt to make more money, right? So when you look at decentralized finance, there's the opportunity for us all to act like banks. And it's just a humongous opportunity that I really feel like everyone just needs to get in there and play with. It's not easy right now. It's actually very hard to do right now. It's a little bit expensive because of the price of Ethereum and stuff, but I do believe that the opportunity and understanding it right now, where we're like literally in the first year of this being possible. So if I told you banks are being invented right now, however long ago, do you want to understand how to become your own bank? Wouldn't you be like, now knowing what they are, wouldn't you say, yeah, I want to understand that? Because if I can own my own bank, I'm going to be well off. Well, right now, you can become your own bank today. Andrew, you have a comment?
Actually do?
What does a bank, you saying, or the bank?
What is a bank? Like, if I'm going to be my own bank, like, what's the value that banks actually create? What do banks actually do?
So to me, what I and you actually were on the board of a bank, so you're asking a question I'm sure you know the answer to, but I'm going to explain from my knowledge as a person from the Bronx and just getting into this, right? So what I think is a bank is made to create a place where deposits go in, but then they lend that money out to make more money, right? So if they're able to give you 0.01% of your money, interest on your money, is because they're making 10% or whatever on lending it out, right? So now, as a regular person, you could do the same thing. You could literally say, all right, I have $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. It's worth $10,000 today, let's say. But in a year, it could be worth $100,000, $50,000, whatever it is. But you can take a loan off of that, whatever current value, and use it however you want. And the interest payments are based on a few different things. And this is where it gets a little technical. But right now, I did a test with one Ethereum. When I bought the Ethereum, actually, I bought Ethereum when it was $88. Now, Ethereum, when I took this loan, that Ethereum was worth $1,400. I had bought it for $88. Then it went up to $1,400 in less than a year, I feel like. Right? Then I did a loan off of that $1,400 for $1,000. So they were willing to give me $1,000 loan of $1,400. Today, that same Ethereum is worth $2,000, I think $100. This is where so much, if I break it all down to you, the value of my collateral increased exponentially in a year. I took a loan on it, which was about 80% of what its value was of the collateral. And then the coin went up another $700 while my loan was there. So the collateral, now the percentage of my loan goes down. The interest payment on that loan, it's been about a month. I owe $6. And there's no monthly payment. You pay it back, or if you get to the point where your interest overruns your collateral, they take your collateral. So that's why I tell everybody you need to own cryptocurrency, because this is possible. And the value of the collateral is going to keep growing. They say Ethereum might go to $20,000 within the next year. So again, I bought it for $88 a year ago. And I was telling people a year ago, you need to buy Ethereum and Bitcoin. Nobody was listening to me. Now it's a little worse, but it's not as big of a growth, but it's still going to be big time growth. What do you have? Any answers to that, Andrew?
So you're saying that you're keeping your currency safe, right? Like you're keeping it with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my wallet. It's in my wallet, and I put it on. It's called Compound Finance. It's it's a decentralized autonomous organization, which, if you know me, it basically means it's a co-op. It's a co-op bank. You put your collateral on that bank. They're willing to give you a percentage of the collateral back as a loan, and then you have to pay the interest on it. So the reason why I'm doing it is to just understand the whole process and see how it works. But as I see it and I look every day and I'm like, wow, this interest still is not going up that much. Like, it's still $6. It's been $6 for like 2 weeks. And I'm like,
Miguel,
yeah.
Let me jump in a little bit because Andrew asked the question because you formalize and you say you become your own bank. And like we're saying before, words are sometimes very, very important because they come pregnant with all kinds of things. So, my background is I got a BBA and a major in finance before most of you were born. And then I became a bank regulator for the state of New York about banking. I started my career in banking. That was my first job coming out of college. In my own way of understanding things, banks are middlemen. There are transactions that need to be done between 1 and 2, and sometimes the bank provides the middle way of processing transactions of any sort of other. So they take your money and they, as Miguel says, they lend it out. The day of needing a bank as a middle person to do your transactions is they're an endangered species. It's like accounting. It's like being a lawyer. All those professions are endangered professions because we're not going to need them anymore. We won't be able to do it. So an example of that is a lot of us don't use lawyers to incorporate ourselves. We go to an app called LegalZoom. There might be a place where LegalZoom will not be available. Uber is a middleman between a driver and a rider, and they charge money for being the middleman. In a couple of years, pretty soon, Uber is going to be an endangered species because a driver and a passenger don't need Uber. They'll be able to go directly to the driver, and the driver will be able to make all the money. So that's an example of what this decentralized banking system is going to move towards. Miguel sent me yesterday something that I recommend that Miguel sent to everyone, which is an interview with what's his name,
Mark Cuban,
which is very enlightening because Mark Cuban, aside from being the owner of one of the football teams, I believe, or basketball. Teams, in California, he grew up as a techie, so he's a nerd. And so he's been following this stuff for a long time, and it's the best explanation that I've heard on what seems to be a very complex conversation, because you get deep into the weeds about blockchain, cryptocurrency, tokens, and people can become bleary-eyed about the discussion. But the discussion is more, for me, is that right now, as we all know, we get hacked by Google, Amazon, Netflix, and they don't pay us anything for hacking us. In the future, pretty soon, if Netflix or any of these platforms want to use your information for anything, as they're using it now for free, they have to pay you. So we're moving into the phase where we're going to be pretty much in diapers for a little while, but we have been born. The reason that I'm a little bit ahead of the curve, at least for people my age, is because Miguel Sanchez sends me tons of books which he only half reads, but I read them all. And so he sent me the blockchain book about 2 years ago, and I started changing my perspective on my view on my brain. My brain cells had to reconstruct themselves to be able to understand this. But I'm glad that he did, because I have a better understanding, a little better understanding. So we're talking about getting rid of man middle institution that create middle services would pretty much soon we will not need. Anyway, this is Paco. I hope I didn't muddy the waters. I have finished speaking.
So to me, what a bank does is it keeps things safe, right? They have a big safe, this big like iron box. They keep resources in this thing that's impenetrable, right? They have Greek columns on the outside to make it look like some kind of fortress, right? And to project safety.
So you're saying crypto, you don't feel that?
Well, what I'm saying is that people can keep stuff themselves safe, right? It's safe with me, it's
True.
safe with you, right? And the ability, and so what banks do to me is they take all the things in the safe and then allocate it to the community to perpetuate, to grow the economy, to make life better, to build a bridge, to do, worthy projects, right? They pool resources. And, I think there's an opportunity in terms of, to get back to the topic here, I think having a safe house or a clubhouse, right? With,
Go on.
Like the real estate really matters. Like we're in this metaverse and all of this digital stuff, but the bottom line is that the actual piece of art or money or whatever it is, the physical good, really matters, because all of these NFTs, all of this, hoopla, all of this jargon, everything else is a derivative of something that somebody actually labored upon and drew out or, recorded an album, right? It's a master record. And where do you keep it, right? And creating your own type of safety deposit box or a place, a system to keep things, it to me is the biggest opportunity I see, in the world.
And yeah, so what you're saying is pretty much what's now called a wallet, right? So now, and I'm shameless plug in my Instagram and Twitter bio, I have how you make a MetaMask wallet. The reason why is because we're heading into what's called Web 3.0, and Web 3.0 is all built around your wallet. So you don't log in anymore to websites. You go and it recognizes your wallet, and then you interact with the website. You can even send money back and forth through the wallet. So that's the new version of the web. What you're saying, Andrew, is pretty much the blockchain again. It comes back to that book. So again, the book is called The Blockchain Revolution. If you're in tech, you've heard blockchain for a long time. We are here now. It's all starting, and this is like one of the biggest movements probably since the internet in 2000, bigger than the mobile phone, actually. So I think what Andrew is saying and what Paco is saying and what I was trying to say is we all need to start looking at ourselves and saying, okay, how can we bring more assets into our wallets and then use those assets, leverage those assets to get more, because that's how wealth is generated, right? Again, I keep talking about debt, like I'm borrowing against myself, and a lot of people may be thinking, why would you do that? Because this is how real estate has always worked, right? If you think about real estate, if you have a property and the bank is willing to lend you more to either upgrade it or get more property, that's how people generate wealth. They keep buying properties off the collateral of their other properties. So now cryptocurrency is another type of asset that allows you to do that. And it's literally just starting right now. Like right now, all of this is becoming, it's being coded literally right now. So of course, there's going to be bumpy roads, but I honestly believe everyone needs to understand this because I believe it's going to be the everything of the future. I look at it and I already see there's a lot of people that are saying, and this is what the whole NFT movement is around, that digital is going to be worth more than physical. So I actually can already see this happening. When you look at e-commerce versus storefronts, isn't the gap online worth more than any gap that you can walk into? Of course it is, right? So this has already happened. Now we're moving to this next phase of it where we all can have digital assets that generate wealth for us. So this is where I really see a huge opportunity. Go ahead.
So I had a question because, like, you know me, Miguel. Like, I'm not that old. I'm not that young. I'm kind of in the sweet spot, and it's kind of like very confusing to me because, like, I kind of look at that Iran world, and I kind of am always skeptical about like investments or anything of that nature. So, like, when I look at crypto, it's kind of seeming like that internet bubble within its own bubble. But it has another bubble, and it's because of the fact that, like, we want that financial freedom. We're so eager to. So if someone like me that's, like, been known about Bitcoins is, like, the rip, and, like, I kind of beat myself up every other week because I've even had friends that offered it for free for dumb services, and I never took it. It does hurt me. But then another side of me is, like, you know, it's based on people wanting to eagerly be part of it. Do you believe, like, because you're such a strong believer, of course, like in Bitcoin and Ethereum, Litecoin, I don't know what else you purchase or not, but do you believe, like, there is that risk assessment where it's like it could fall to its sword? Because, you know, back to what, like, Andrew and Francisco was talking about, which was, like, a great point, was that sense of security, like, that the bank is the middleman, but, like, what's dope is that your money gets notarized everywhere you go, right? And you kind of can walk freely to work and kind of do your everyday structure, knowing that, like, this corporation or these, you know, this middleman, should I say, is making some sort of profit off of you, is taking care of all your assets securely and, you know, acquiring these transactions, you know, as secure as possible. Whereas Bitcoin, there is that sense of security because, well, not Bitcoin, just cryptocurrency in general, there is that sense of security because, you know, they have all these hashtags. I forgot what's it called, but it's like this link chain. And there's, of course, ways to unlocking, you know, each other's information. But even that alone is becoming simplified within time. But once again, it's based on the people. Do you believe, like, that there's a chance of it to a fall, or do you believe that, like, we're at a point right now where, like, nah, it's just too real?
So just to give you some background, Jeff, I've known Jeff since he was like 11 years old. I was a teacher at Children's Aid Society in Washington Heights. And Jeff was the only kid in my class that paid attention. Everybody else was on Napster downloading songs. Jeff now works for Apple. So, Jeff, what I say to you and Andrew and anybody else who thinks about crypto and thinks it's not as secure as putting your money in a bank, I believe it's actually more secure. So what happens tomorrow if society comes to a point where everybody has to go to their bank and get the money out? Banks lend out more money than they have, right? They lend this. So that's why they have, like, you can't just go right now and say, hey, I want to take out all my money. They're like, whoa, you got to give us a few days, right? With cryptocurrency.
Like,
Go ahead.
Before you get into that theory, we can't really accept the fact that everyone's gonna go and take out their money, because within that, you're basically saying everyone's not born into debt, and everyone is sort of born into debt. So everyone kind of leans on credit more than they believe, you know, they lean on their assets. So if you don't mind switching the theory and saying no one takes out their money out of the bank, let's just say one day people stop believing in crypto and start believing more into hardcore cash. My question is more, does crypto itself lose value, and does it become its internet bubble, like within the 90s internet bubble, where, like, it pops and essentially everyone that's in that crypto world loses money?
So okay, what you're referencing is the .com bubble, which I was about your age when it happened.
Yes.
Right? So the reason the .com bubble happened, and I was literally in the middle of it, was because a lot of these companies were getting valued at a lot more than they were worth. So what that means is whenever you see a stock and you see that it says Tesla is market cap is $2 billion, $2 trillion, whatever it is. If you look at that number and you say, how could that be real? I don't agree with that. That's a possible way where this could happen, right? But the problem with cryptocurrency right now, I mean, actually, the reason it was created, at least Bitcoin, is that is not a gameable thing now. Bitcoin is literally worth how much is inside of it. So like if somebody puts $1 billion and there's one coin, then one coin is worth $1 billion. Right now, Bitcoin is worth whatever it's worth right now, 58,000, 60,000, because there's so much money in it divided by the amount of coins available that it makes that. So the only way that it goes down is if everybody pulls their money out of Bitcoin, right? What would make that happen? The government can say, hey, Bitcoin is not allowed here anymore. The crazy thing that has been happening, though, is every place that the government has said that, Bitcoin has grown leaps and bounds. India tried to do it. China tried to do it. South America tried to do it. Every place that has happened, it's actually grown Bitcoin. So that's one of the major reasons I feel like it's safe. Another big thing is starting to happen is institutions are starting to put money into it. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk put $1.5 billion of his own company's money into Bitcoin. And then he said, I'm going to accept Bitcoin as payment for Tesla. What that starts to do is that starts to make it more sustainable, right? And then what's going to happen next, Coinbase, which is the number one way to buy Bitcoin, is about to go public on the American stock market. And it's going to represent America in that way. Like if Coinbase succeeds, America succeeds. So for America to shoot itself in the foot and not allow Bitcoin to be used is going to be bad. But even if it does, worst case scenario, it does it. Every other place in the world that has happened, and these are big places, China, India are bigger than us. It did not work there. So I believe that you have to make a decision about where do you see the world going. Do you think we are going to be using cash in 100, 200 years? Do you think it's already not convenient to use cash, right? Most people don't use cash. Say it again.
I said I hate carrying cash.
Exactly, right? So,
and like now after Corona, it's become
even worse, right? So, but then that's just the representation physically. Let's say you just have it in your bank and you use debit cards. There's still a huge problem there. You know what that problem is? Every year, your cash is worth less. And that's called inflation, right? And what's happening right this second is the government is printing up a bunch of money to give out to everybody to make sure everybody's good. That's making the value of the dollar even less. So what's happening is what I've been really learning ever since I got into this investment world. I was an entrepreneur for a long time. You know me, Jeff. Most people in here know me. Once I started talking to investors, what I realized is investors, as quickly as humanly possible, take their money out of cash. That's how come they get rich and richer and richer and richer. They don't have cash. If they have money, they're investing it in things that make more than just keeping it in the bank, because they know keeping it in the bank, that money's going down. That's part of why Elon Musk put money in Bitcoin versus keeping it in a bank. And that's why most of these people are going to do that, because what they're saying is happening right now is the government is creating a huge problem in the future by printing up so much money. So that's why they believe Bitcoin is going to do such big jumps, because most people are going to see what the rich people see. Keeping your money in a bank getting 0.1% versus putting it in Bitcoin. Bitcoin grows, and there's things that you can put and get 8-12% interest on your Bitcoin. And then you can borrow against it. It's like night and day versus just keeping cash. You might as well be keeping your cash under your mattress, right? So
Mike, real quick, sorry, because like you keep saying you can borrow against it or you can like take out a loan against it. Like, who lends you this money?
So this is the beauty of crypto. This is all code. You basically are saying, hey, I have this asset. I have 10% of a Bitcoin, let's say, and that is, let's say, 6K. You put it up on a website called compound.finance, and there's a few of them now. They're more and more growing. But Compound Finance was invested in by Coinbase, so it's pretty reputable. There's like $100 billion on there, some crazy number like that, that people basically put their crypto on there, and Compound says, okay, we're going to give you X% of the amount you gave, so you can do whatever you want with it. You just got to pay us back our interest over time. And the reason why I bring it back to real estate is because most people, they look at that and they say, why would I do that? Why borrow against my own asset? Why would I need to do it? I'm not saying do it to buy Jordans. I'm saying do it to make more money, right? So like that's what you do with real estate, right? When you have let's say you have a one family house and you get and you get close to paying it off, the government will, the bank will give you more money based on how much you paid off in the house, and then you take that money, you buy another house, and you rent it out, and you make more money, right? More income. You can do that with cryptocurrency in ways too. You can put it on places that get higher interest than the interest you are paying, right? So there's things right now, because it's so early, this is not going to be around forever, but there's things that give you like 30% interest on your money, which is like incredible, right? I actually saw one that the other day. I don't want to get too into it because it's kind of crazy, but the idea is you can invest in other possible coins that you believe. So for instance, this is something I did. I took the 1,000 from remember I told you, okay, so let's start the story over just for anybody who wasn't here. I paid $88 for Ethereum like in 2019. In 2021, early on in the year, it was $1,400. So somebody told me what I'm telling you right now. They were like, why are you just holding your Ethereum? I'm like, that's going to go. It's going to grow to like 20,000. They're like, yeah, but would you say the same thing about owning a piece of real estate? Would you just let it grow in value and not take out what you can take out from it and get more? So I was like, of course, but I don't think you can do that. He's like, yeah, you can. And he showed me. So I went on Compound Finance. I put my $1,400 Ethereum in there. They gave me 1,000. And I said, okay, now what do I do with this 1,000? Because it's so volatile. What am I going to do? He's like, look, basically you could do anything you think is going to make you more money than you're going to pay the interest. So I was like, all right, but let's say I wanted to keep it all in crypto. He said, okay, let's look at some of these altcoins, which is risky too, right? Of course. He showed me a few. I did my research based on what I know with technology. And I said, all right, I think these two are good. He said, all right, put 500 in each of those coins based on your loan, and let's see what happens in 6 months. I was like, all right, cool. I did it, put 500 into 2 coins. The last time I looked, those 2 coins were up $300. I told you the interest payment on that loan so far has been $6. So I just made $300 for $6. Imagine, no, $6 period. So if I wanted to pay the loan back right now, I just got to pay $1,006. That's my loan payment back, right? But right now I got 1,300 based on those coins, right? I put that in those coins. So imagine I'm doing that at $1,000 level. There's people that are doing that on a $10,000 level, $100,000 level, $1 million level, right? Just like with real estate. Donald Trump, how you think most of his net worth is from? It's from him borrowing against his assets. And that's why he's a quote unquote billionaire, right? Because he had a property, kept borrowing off of it, making more. That's starting to be possible with crypto. And of course, it's super early.
It's the most expensive golf club to be a part of.
Yeah. Well, again, but he licenses it, he brands his name, so he does other things for money. But the true way his net worth was created is by borrowing against real estate. And he says it like I'm the master of debt or something like that. I've heard him say stuff like that.
Yeah. He definitely did at that and taxes.
Yeah. Well, so that's another big thing. Another big thing with crypto. And of course, I'm not a financial advisor. Definitely talk to somebody. But crypto, you only get taxed. You only get taxed when you bring it into your bank account. So this is why you see people selling paintings for $70 million. The person that bought that painting is a billionaire of Bitcoin. So he's like, why would I take the money out when I could put it in another asset that's not going to make me get taxed? And maybe that asset grows in value more than the 70 million over time, right? That's why people buy art in general. So even right now with regular cash, that's why people buy art. You see that with celebrities all the time. Oh, Jay-Z just bought this Basquiat or whatever it is. The reason is, again, rich people take their money out of cash as fast as humanly possible. So art is another way of taking your money out of cash. So is jewelry, certain types of jewelry, watches, right? So if you see a person buy $100,000 watch, you're like, why do they do that? They're doing it because they don't want to have their money in cash because it loses value. And in the hood, they don't really teach us this, right? Like, so this is where, like, as I get more involved with the entrepreneur investor world, I'm learning that all these rich people, they didn't make their money from working. They made their money by investing and leveraging their assets. So now that with crypto, you can start leveraging assets from $100 at a time. Like I told you, I bought Ethereum at $88. Now it's worth $2,000. And that was just, if I tell you, I just bought one, and I definitely bought more than one, right? And now you can buy $100 worth, $1,000 worth, $50,000 worth, whatever you want. They say Ethereum's going to go up to maybe $20,000 within the next year. They say Bitcoin's going to go up maybe 200,000 within the next year, right? So again, you have to kind of make your decision because, again, you have to think, do I believe this is going to happen? And that's where I was when I said, all right, I'm going to start messing around with this crypto thing more. Of course, just like you, Jeff, I punch myself in the face whenever I think of this. I saw Bitcoin when it was 30 cents. I looked at it and I said, this makes absolutely no sense, even though I was a technologist and I could have understood it. Oh, my son's watching. And I could have understood it. I didn't put the time in to understand it, though. And I was just like, that sounds crazy. That sounds like I'm throwing my money in the abyss. I should have just put $100. If I would have put $100, I would be a millionaire right now, right? But again, I didn't spend the time to understand it. And now I honestly think that's unacceptable because literally you can become your own bank off this. And I know when I say that, people don't really fully understand, but like the woman that came in earlier and she said, I was raising money and I couldn't get investors. What if we all were our own banks and we all said, hey, let's all borrow $100 from ourselves and give Carrie the money she needs, and we're going to own a percentage of that company. When she sells that company later, all those $100 could turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars for each one of us. This is what venture capitalists do. Venture capitalists do that exact thing on a bigger scale with people that already have money. We can't be in that game because we don't have the assets to be in that game. But this is the opportunity to get into that game and start building your wealth and your assets to start being involved in projects like hers. Like she's on the roll. She can get to a point where somebody comes and buys her for $2 billion. And if you were one of the first people in, even if you only gave $100, this is why I said, I don't know how many of you heard me say equity crowdfunding, because equity crowdfunding is a way now where you don't have to be an accredited investor to get involved in a startup. This is brand new. Thank you, Obama. Obama passed the law in 2012, but it just came to fruition like in the last few years, 2, maybe 3 years. It's been official that you can give $100 to a startup. And she also said, Arlen Hamilton gave her money. I invested in Arlen Hamilton's fund. I'm not an accredited investor, but I was able to give Arlen Hamilton money for her fund, and I'm going to reap reward if that fund grows. But again, why did I give Arlen Hamilton the money? The same reason she said. I'm not looking for a 10x return from that. I know Arlen Hamilton is going to give the money to people that I want to have the money to. Ideas like Curry, right? That need it, and she's a special person that can make it go. So I was lucky enough to have the 200 that I put up, right? Some people didn't have that. But this is why I'm saying, if you start to just put $20 at a time into Bitcoin, then you start Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these different, I'll tell you, Bitcoin, Ethereum are the best, the two safest ones. They're going to grow pretty good. After a few years, your money, like I was telling people to buy Bitcoin last summer, it has already 5x'd since I said that. So if I told you and you put $100, you have $500, and then you could borrow $250 off that $500. Now you basically made $100 into $750 in less than a year. Now make that 1,000, make that 10,000, 100,000. that's how this can get crazy, right? So this is where it's like such a humongous opportunity. And I know I talk about it like it's easy, but it's not even easy for me. I've spent a lot of time in there, spent a lot of money messing around, paying gas fees and stuff like that to understand it, because I've been here before. I seen this in the year 2000 with the internet, with the bubble you were talking about, Jeff. When I was teaching you, it was around the same time all these websites were coming out, and I was in there.
The number one search engine was Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, exactly. So Google hadn't even come out yet, right? But I knew what Google was, but I couldn't invest in Google. I didn't have enough money to invest in Google. I was like 20 something years old. But now you can invest in the Google of the future, and it's probably going to cost you less than 1 cent per share. That's what's going on here. Like the blockchain, these altcoins, if you know what altcoins are, they mean these little projects on cryptocurrency. These are the projects of the future. These are the projects that are going to eat Amazon, Netflix, all these big companies. They're shaking in their boots because these companies, they basically made a business model that the Amazons of the world cannot compete with. What is that? There's no more middleman. The middleman is Amazon. So Amazon has their foot on the neck of a lot of their distributors and all that stuff, right? They're making all the money. Their employees, right? Some of the employees, they're suing and all that stuff because Amazon is treating them unfairly. This new world of blockchain, where I said it earlier, it's called decentralized autonomous organizations. The bank, actually, Compound.Finance is a company run by code, and everybody who's involved in it gets a vote on what happens, shares in the profit, and gets to use the product, right? That's a cooperative. Amazon cannot compete with that. Amazon, if they made another version of Amazon where I just told you could do everything I just said or work on it or deal with Amazon, which one you're going to take? And Amazon cannot do that. They can't, even if they wanted to. So this is where these opportunities are here. And these altcoins, I know there's like a dirty word, altcoins, like, oh, only mess with Ethereum and Bitcoin. But what I'm trying to tell you is these new companies that are being created, and of course, most of them are going to fail, but that's how it works in all aspects of investment, right? Except maybe real estate. In venture capital, these venture capital firms, they give money to hundreds of companies, and like 5 or 10 actually get to the big time. Most of the other ones fail. So it's normal. But again, if I told you can invest in each one of these at less than a cent per share, all you got to do is put $100 in, just like I told you with Bitcoin. If I would just put $100 in Bitcoin, I'd be rich.
So, like, kind of capturing, like, snapshotting, like what you're talking about with Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, you are.
I'm kind of snapshotting that with, like, because I'm like, I've seen it in the past, so it's like you're eager to do it again in the future. So, like, as an early adopter, I'm very eager to do it with something in the early stages. So, what do I mean by that? I've been looking at, as you're talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm looking at Litecoin and Doja. So,
all right.
I think these two are kind of like the big ticket winners based on like their transaction history.
Okay, see, so you're looking at the transaction history. What I look at when I look at a coin or any business, right? I look at what are they trying to solve. That's why I don't like Dogecoin as much, because it was a joke. It literally was a joke. I don't really understand what they're trying to solve.
I read the white paper.
What? Oh yeah, you read the white paper. So basically, all these ideas, they have a white paper explaining what they want to accomplish with the project. I never read the Dogecoin one. I just always thought it was a joke. I bought Dogecoin though, just in case. Because what happened to me with Bitcoin is never going to happen to me again. If I see it and I'm like, all right, there's some buzz around here, I'm at least throwing $100 in just in case, right? So I did that with Dogecoin. It went up. Sure, it goes up and down, whatever. But I'm not worried about it. Again, another big thing. Invest what you're willing to lose, right? No, don't ride your whole like life savings on this stuff. Even though I believe enough in Bitcoin and Ethereum that I am moving a substantial amount of my 401k, anything I make, into that world, because I 100% think it's the future. Once you start doing it, you cannot see how the competitors are going to compete. Like when I did a loan that I literally had to talk to nobody, got the money in less than 10 minutes, I was like, how is a bank ever going to compete with this? All I got to do is keep growing my amount in the bank, and I can borrow again. Eventually, I'll be able to borrow my own money for my own houses off myself, pay myself the interest. This is crazy, right? And not only that, the interest. So I didn't even tell you this part. When you put it up as collateral, they give you interest on the money, which is more than you get at any bank on top of that. So not only do you have your Bitcoin or Ethereum and it's growing in value just by it growing in value like it was going to do anyway, like most people are just holding it in a bank, in a account like Coinbase. So it's going to grow. Then they're giving you interest on it. So you don't lose it by giving it to them. They're holding it for you. And as it grows in value, you reap that reward as well. Then when you borrow off of it, some of the borrow is offset by the interest they're giving you. And it's just like, I know it's mind bending, but it's crazy when you start seeing it. And for me, I'm the type of person I have to do it to learn it. So I put myself in that position with any startup I do. So when I'm looking at this decentralized finance thing, I was like, hey, let me do it. And once you start doing it, you just see how clunky it is. But when you see, holy crap, this is going to be the norm one day. And of course, we're talking to you, me and Jeff. I was teaching him probably 20 years ago. I'm pretty old. Think about how far things have come, right? Since I was showing Jeff how to code HTML. Now there's Squarespace. People can put up a website in 1 minute. All these things, right? That's going to happen with decentralized finance. But let's say you start building up your assets from right now, $20 a week at a time. Bitcoin reaches $1 million in 20 years or 2 million, whatever they think, whatever it becomes. You grew your assets. You can borrow against that to make more. You bought a good NFT, let's say, and now it's worth 10 times what you paid. This is all the same thing rich people do, that now we can be in it for like percentage points of what they need to get into it in the current world. That's why I'm saying it's such a huge opportunity. And it's not the only one. Of course, it is the biggest one I see right this moment. Of course, there's real estate opportunities because of, there's a lot of housing issues. But real estate is a different type of asset class. It's a much safer asset class, but it's not going to grow as exponentially as fast, right? It'll grow its percent a year. It's going to make you something every month, but it's not going to make you 10, 20x in not even 5 years. So the big thing is it is, but it's a real asset. So Andrew just texted me. It is a real asset, but so is Bitcoin now. You're just not physical. It's not like something you can touch, but now there is value to it that other people will accept, right? Look at Elon Musk is willing to give you a Tesla for your Bitcoin. How is that not real? Like that's pretty crazy. So
yeah, there's some dentistries. There's about over 60 though that accept Bit, Light, Doja. There's a lot of like physicians.
Also, they're accepting those. That's interesting. So yeah. When I talk to you about the coins, right? I don't mention.
Also PayPal is introducing. I don't know if you read.
Yeah. So this is the big thing.
Huge.
The big thing about those type of, it's just like Robinhood. PayPal is like Robinhood though. You don't actually own the coin. It's kind of like you're renting it. Like so you can't borrow against your PayPal Bitcoin or your Robinhood Bitcoin because you don't actually have the collateral. That's why Coinbase, Gemini, even Cash App, when you buy it on those, you own the asset. Then you could send that to a wallet and then borrow against it. So that's how you know, do you really own it or are you renting it? So with like I said, with Robinhood and PayPal, you're renting. With Coinbase, Gemini, Cash App, you're owning. And then you could get the benefit of ownership from sending it to like a MetaMask wallet and then doing whatever you want with it, buying NFTs, all these different things. So that's a big lesson that most people don't know. People are just in Robinhood thinking, oh yeah, I got a lot. Try to move your Bitcoin out of Robinhood. You're gonna have fun because you got to sell it. You're gonna pay taxes on it. Then you got to buy it again, right? So there's a big lesson there. Don't buy it on Robinhood or PayPal, if you're using it for what I'm telling you to use it for, which is start thinking about how to create your own bank. So even for my kids, I'm even teaching them how to think about this, because imagine to have like 10-year-olds that are starting now to make their own banks. Imagine when they're our age, they're going to be in great positions, I think, right? Also, just to have that understanding of good debt versus bad debt, right? Because I think that's a major issue in communities like I come from, right? We get into bad debt, right? We buying Jordans, buying cars. I remember when I first started buying, making money, I bought a $40,000 car. That was the first thing I did. And then I think about that every day. Like, imagine if I would have put that money into something that made money. How much would that money be right now? Right? That it could have been 10 times by now. Right? So this is where I bring the Bitcoin education, because I do believe just owning Bitcoin, it could go 10 times without even doing anything. Just having it as Bitcoin, it could be worth 10 times. Ethereum, I think it could be even worth even more. And the reason why I want you all to start going down the path yourselves and start playing with it is because as you start to see it more and more, you will start to understand different things than even I see, right? You got to go, everybody has to go down their own rabbit hole. I remember I was in DR actually. There's a funny story. I was in DR last year. Me and my dad were working on a property that we got in DR, Airbnb, and I was telling him, "Look, let's buy a Bitcoin." And he's like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. That's imaginary money." And I'm like, "I'm telling you, let's do it, me and you." He's like, "Nah." And we were around other investors, and everybody's like, "Oh, Mike, you're crazy. See that tech stuff. Like, just stick to real estate. Real estate is good, safe money." If 5 times since then, and all of them, every time I talk to them, I'm like, "What if you would have listened to me? How much is that real estate property worth today? Is it worth 5 times? No, right?" So again, it comes into these like times where this is not going to continue like this. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't buy a full Bitcoin either. Then I should have too, but I bought more than they did though, right? So the idea though is this opportunity is not going to be here forever, right? So educate yourself as much as possible. So what happened, right, is one of those investors, they were in another event and somebody told them about Bitcoin the same way that I said it. Then they put their money in heavy, and it was way late. But of course, I still believe that they're going to do very, very well, but not as good as they would have did it when I said it, you know, but it is what it is. Every day you take longer to spend the time to fully understand this is at a cost to your future wealth. So the way I look at it is somebody tried to teach me this in like 2016, this whole decentralized finance thing, borrowing off your own Bitcoin and stuff. And I just, again, I did it again. I was like, "Oh, I don't understand it. I don't understand. Die. What are you talking about?" So I just said, "You know what? That's not for me." Again, I wish this person would have just shook me and said, no. This is for everybody. You need to understand this. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm shaking you through my phone and on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Pay attention to this, because when he told me that person that told me that, none of this was around. You couldn't do this and think about it. It's hard now. When he was telling me, it was even harder to do this. And it's going to get easier and easier and easier. And what happens when it gets easier? The opportunity becomes smaller because more people are involved. So the interest rates can come down and all this stuff. Right now is when people are going to make big time money. And I'm already seeing it. I'm literally talking to people that are showing me wallets with $10 million in them that definitely didn't start out being 10 million. They just were in early. And as they got more, they kept growing it using these tools. So that was where I was like, all right, you know what? I know I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, but this is important. Like you have to understand this movement. And then what am I going to do, right? Again, I'm looking for the Currys of the world, and I want to invest in ideas like that, because eventually I will become an accredited investor, because literally off of your assets on crypto alone, you could become an accredited investor. To become an accredited investor, you have to have $1 million of assets outside of your home. So most people, most of their net worth is based on their home, right? Because most people do Another big mistake I've heard from rich people, they buy their first house. They buy their house. And anything you buy that doesn't make you money is not an asset, it's a liability. So if you buy your first house and it's not making you money, you have a lot of money tied in that house for a while, versus if you spent it on something that made you money right away, now you have asset, right? So what I'm saying here is the crypto idea versus real estate right now, if you view it in that same way, you're buying a house if you just have your crypto sitting in Coinbase, right? But if you buy crypto and then you put it on these decentralized finance things and figure out how to grow it, you're doing the opposite. You're actually making money off of your money, right? So, and I don't know if that's confusing or not, but definitely I want to make it a conversation. So any questions based on anything I said, let's go, because I know it's a lot. And Jeff, keep it coming. Keep it coming. I know it's confusing.
No, I mean, I was just saying, like, if you're gonna start like getting into crypto, I think that you should start becoming somewhat of a skeptical early adopter in some of the currency, not all of them, just some.
So. I agree though. I pretty much, like I said, if I see a coin and I think it has a shot, at minimum I'm putting $100 in it, because who knows, that $100 could turn into 20,000. Literally, like there's 20xing, 30xing, 200xing if you get in early enough, if you really believe in a project. So I'm gonna tell you a project right now I believe in that is pretty interesting. It's called Matic, and people may have heard me talk about this. Matic is 30 cents right now, but you can buy it on Coinbase Pro. It's pretty much trying to solve a lot of the future problems of Ethereum before they even happen. And again, it's 30 cents. So when I saw it was 30 cents, I was like, Bitcoin, not happening to me again. I started researching it, started looking at, and then I saw all the partnerships. Matic. I would see it everywhere. Then I found out the day they started letting people borrow against the Matic, I was like, oh my God, this is going to go huge. I went in pretty heavy on it. And now Matic is growing slowly. It's not going to happen overnight. None of this stuff is not a get rich quick scheme. But Matic has a chance of going from 30 cents. The other things that do similar to what it does, again, it's not financial advice is any coin that does similar to what Matic does is at least $30 right now. And Matic does more than those coins. So I'm like, all right, if it goes from 30 cents to $300, to $30, that's a big jump. Even at $100, I went in a little more than that. But if there's another coin that does closer to what Matic does, and I even think Matic does more than that one too, and it's $300 a coin. So I'm like, if it gets to $300 a coin, I'm buying an island. But again, right, it's a risk. I could lose all that money, but I don't think it'll go to zero. That's another thing about investment, right? If you invest in something, it's very unlikely that it will go to zero without you realizing it. If it goes to 50%, you could take your loss. But this is what happened with Bitcoin. It comes down again to how much you believe this is going to work. Because there were people that bought Bitcoin. I know people that bought Bitcoin when it was around $1 or something like that. It got to a certain point, they sold it. They bought Lexuses. They bought, they lived some good life for a little while, but they sold it at like 10,000. Think about if they would have kept, right? They believed in it, but maybe they didn't believe in it. Oh, what's up, my other son? I got all my sons watching today. So really, it's going to come down again. It's going to be ups and downs, just like anything else, right? So how long is the conviction you have, though, right? Like, so for me, next time Bitcoin goes down big time, I'm buying more. Next time Ethereum goes down big time, I'm buying more. Most of the world is going to jump out because they're like, oh, this is this is what I was scared of. I'm not going to keep this here. And they're going to jump. But I don't believe that this is not going to be a part of the future. I've just seen too many things like it. And I don't see any innovation that comes close to it right now. I don't see anything that comes close to it. It's literally figuring out all the problems, solving them so far. Not to say it will be forever, but for right now, do you know the average currency stays active for less than 200 years? That's what I've heard. Like most of the currencies have changed over every 200 years or something like that. And America has had the dollar for about 100 years. It's not going to be forever. And already people just don't want to have dollars. They're ready. You already see it. You don't want to have dollars just physically for having it. It's not good to carry cash anymore. It's not really useful as much, right? I know people that are like, oh, if you got cash, you can get discounts. That don't really work that much in America no more, right? Like people don't want to deal with the cash. What happens when we're all in the metaverse? When we're all right now, we're literally in the metaverse right now. If you think about it, all of us are in different places. We're having a conversation. That's the metaverse. Eventually, you're going to want to send money back and forth, right? Clubhouse just dropped this feature. I was one of the lucky people to get it. You could send people money. How does that happen right now? Through bank account. But again, that's in dollars. So if you got your money in the bank as dollars, you're losing the value of that money. Why would you do that versus having it something that grows in value every day in crypto? Right now, at least, for the foreseeable future, crypto is going to grow because every day more people come into it. Right now, the world represents 100% of the world. Less than 5% of the world own cryptocurrency. That means when most of the world owns it, the value of everything is going to grow crazy. So we're still very early. This is why I'm talking about this. And I know I'm always the guy like working on future stuff. But with this one, I feel like it's a good time to talk about it. I didn't talk about Bitcoin when it was 1,500. I didn't talk about it then because I wasn't sure either. I was like, I don't know about this because X, Y, Z. I had a lot, but I also didn't do the homework. I didn't do enough of the homework. As I started doing more of the homework, I said, okay, if this happens, I think it's going to go. It happened. If this happens, I think it's going to go. It happened. Right now, what I think is happening, and if it happens, it's going to explode, is when you deal with investors, certain investors can't invest in asset classes that are worth under a certain amount of market cap. What that means is real estate is worth X amount of billions of dollars, so they can invest in that. Stock is worth X amount of billions of dollars, so they can invest in that. Cryptocurrency, because it's so new, the entire market cap of cryptocurrency is under the number where these big like endowments and big pension funds can put money in it. But it's creeping closer to it, and it's going to get there. And when it gets there, and all these places that can't invest in it, but they want to, they're going to pour a lot of money in. They're not going to pour all of it, but I'm talking about pension funds with like $100 billion. If they put 1 billion in, it changes cryptocurrency. If each one of them that have that money put in 1 billion, which represents 1% of their endowment or their fund, it changes cryptocurrency forever. And what's happening right now is rich people are putting 3% of their net worth into cryptocurrency. So if a rich person is doing it and you're not, and I'm not saying 3% of my net worth is nowhere near what theirs is, but I'm putting a lot more than 3% of my net worth into it, right? And I'm talking to people that their net worth literally has been created because of it, right? There were people that had no net worth, but they put $1,000 into Bitcoin 2 years ago, and now they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars because of that, right? And we're in the point where imagine right now we're looking at Bitcoin, it's 50,000, and in 4 years it's worth $1 million. That's 20 times the money you put in today. So if you put in, let's say you got to put in 10,000, talking about a lot of money from not that much. I mean, it's not a little, but it's not as much as it would be when you 20x it, right? So, and you could just put in 20 at a time and build it up. The big thing I just need people to start understanding is nobody is going to do the homework for you, right? Nobody's going to make you understand this. And even your questions, Jeff, when you ask those questions, if I don't have a live, go on YouTube. Somebody else is answering that question. There's a few people that explain it really, really well. Mark Cuban is one. This guy, the Pomp podcast, he breaks it down so good. He basically says, this is the best asset ever created in human history. Why is that? It solves every single problem of past asset classes. You could bring up anything. Real estate, right? Oh, real estate's better than this. Real estate has a problem. It's stuck in wherever it is, right? I can't take that real estate that we have in Dominican Republic and move it to New York and put it in the middle of Times Square. It's stuck wherever I have it, right? I also, if I wanted to sell it right now, I can't just sell it today. I can't today have the money. I have to go put it for sale, show it, have somebody buy it. That could take me a month or more. With Bitcoin, I can sell it today. Literally, as we talk, I can sell it and have my money, right? Another big thing is it's deflationary, meaning it grows in value because there's a limited supply. So just like real estate, there's a little limited supply, right? On Earth, there's a limited amount of land. So that's why real estate keeps growing in value, but it grows value slow. Bitcoin, they're going to make a certain amount of Bitcoin in forever. And once they stop making Bitcoin, they're going to stop making Bitcoin forever. So let's say, to make the math easy, there's 10 Bitcoins and they're worth $10 each. So that means all in Bitcoin has $100. What happens when Bitcoin gets to $1,000? Now each Bitcoin is worth 100. What happens when Bitcoin gets to $1 million? So what's happening now is Bitcoin is eating the market cap of a lot of different things. And it's already worth more than like Visa, MasterCard, and all these big, huge companies. And it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why the value of that coin is going to grow and grow and grow. That's why I believe it's already, I wouldn't have talked about it if I didn't think it was already set game match. I really don't see how anybody stops this. It's basically Uber to cab companies. I really can't see how anything really competes with it because nothing has been created yet that can, right? So in my technology view, but again, I'm here for a conversation to make sure anybody with questions understands the opportunity and make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, I believe everybody should at least put $20 in Bitcoin, because what that would do is that would start to make you go down the rabbit hole. You pay attention to what you pay for, right? So once you put $20 in, you're going to be like, what is this? What is this, right? Start watching YouTube videos. Holy shit. It does solve that better than gold. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, you know, I'm putting another $100. Then you look, wow, my $120 is now almost $200, and I didn't do anything. Then you start being like, wait a minute, what if I would have put $1,000? You know what I mean? Like, and you start going down that rabbit hole. And I'm not saying you throw all your eggs in this basket. I am saying start though. Just like with stocks, real estate, anything. I do believe the 3 asset classes that I'm looking at right now that I think are the most important are real estate, crypto before even stock, in my opinion, and definitely stock. But the way I see stock, I don't see stock only in like the Teslas of the world. I see stock. Yeah, well, let me finish one thing. I see stock in early stage companies too, right? So like we were just talking with Curry, who was here earlier. She has an early stage company. Right now, if we can get in on her startup now for, let's say, $2 a share, and then one day it's $30 a share, I want to get involved in those stocks. So go ahead, Tasha.
Okay, I'm literally on a flight that's about to take off.
All right, go.
You can send us notes, please, because I feel like crypto is oversaturated. Is it too late to get in at this stage of the game?
No.
And number 2, all the, you mentioned a few organizations. Is there a way that we could have some notes for follow-up?
Good question. I have to figure out how to do that. I will think about how to do it, because you're right. I know I've been saying a lot of different things, but I will do that. Thank you, Tasha. Have a safe flight.
When I'm in your room. See y'all later. Take
All
care.
right.
Bye-bye.
Have a safe flight. Bye. Yeah, I think I think I got to figure that out. If anybody has any ideas on how to take notes, because I'm talking on streaming. I don't know if I can take notes too at the same time. Definitely there's a YouTube though. You can come back and watch the YouTube, but it's an hour and 45 minutes right now.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say. You can just have it saved on like YouTube or whatever the other platforms are, and let them rewatch it. I mean, that's probably the best thing.
Yeah. That is happening, but I understand nobody wants to watch an hour and 45 minutes over. I get it. So, but at the end of the day, I hope what I'm doing right now is working. Even if you put only $10 in Cash App today, tomorrow, just to really get you down the rabbit hole and start to go and just start researching more, I highly, highly suggest you do that. Eric, you had a question?
Nah, no question. I just wanted to come in and see.
What up? All right. So basically, when I say biggest opportunities right now, I look at crypto. I do look at stock in the early stage, like I'm talking about, and I do think this NFT thing is huge too. But when I look back in the 2000s and what I did right and what I did wrong, I remember being in rooms where we were building e-commerce websites. I built the first JLo e-commerce website by myself. I remember being in this world and being like, I just got to get my skills to the level where people are going to pay me top dollar. So I was like, I want to be the best at what I do. But I was building somebody else's company's value. That person that I built the JLo website for, they sold their company for $100 million, right? And I built their first and second website ever. But I just got paid for my time. Part of what I see now is, if I could rewind, I would want shares in that company, right? I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to build these websites, but I also want some shares, because who knows, maybe one day you sell this for $100 million. You know what I mean? And this is where right now I see we can own shares in the future ideas. These cryptocurrency projects that are 1 cent, 30 cents, you could give $100 and now you own shares of that idea. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you lost $100. Not that big of a deal. Some people are putting 10,000. Some people I know people putting their life savings into ideas that they see because they believe so much in it. And of course, there's pros and cons to that. So what I see right now is this NFT idea is like a movement of making anything tokenizable, which is a word that's really hard to understand, but basically it means anything is you could prove that you own it and resell it. And that's a huge opportunity. But I don't believe it's as big as opportunity as decentralized finance, though. I do believe both are going to be humongous, but I think decentralized finance is going to look like an elephant to an ant compared to NFT, right? But I do believe NFT is going to be bigger than most things that exist right now. So that's why I say, if you're in one space, make sure you just don't only look at that space. And I'm really trying to make sure I don't do the same, right? Because when NFT first came out and I fully understood it, again, I spent the time to understand it. I said, holy crap, I'm going to do this. I got in it. I put out an NFT just to understand it. I'm even working with people in this room on NFTs, but I don't want to not pay attention to the elephant in the room, literally, right? Like, I am still keeping my eye on this decentralized finance thing. And that's why I say, but it's all connected. The beauty is it's very connected. It's all involved in cryptocurrency and understanding shares of companies and the value of a company. Anybody questions? Andrew, you got a question?
Shares are called equity, so it's equity. You own it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are responsibilities with equity. You oversee the direction of a company, right? So there's risk involved.
But that's certain type of equity, though. Not all equity gives you that right, though.
Not all equity gives you that right.
Yeah.
But it's very important to understand that if you stand to benefit from the growth of a company with equity,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and that's where
you need to understand that there are responsibilities involved.
Again, it depends. It depends on what type, right? So if you just invested in Tesla, you put $100 in Tesla, you don't really, you may be able to vote on certain things, but you don't really shape what happens, right? But if you were one of the early investors and you are on the board, you could, right? So there are levels, and I think the beauty of equity is, I try to tell people, look, if you're going to use it and you believe in it, you might as well buy stock in it, right? Because you're making your stock more valuable every time you use it, right? Like Apple, for instance. I make sure I have Apple stock because I got an iPhone and I got a Mac, and I didn't know this early enough, right? When I was in my 20s, I was buying the iPods and buying the iPhones instead of buying the stock. And I posted something the other day on Instagram, because whenever I see a quote like that, it just kills me. If you would have bought the iPod worth of stock, right now you have like $60,000-$70,000 versus right now. I know I bought the first iPod. I don't know where it is. Right. I definitely got $60,000. So right now when you, and Jeff works for Apple. So, you know, we talk about this. The idea of owning and I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, if I can't afford to buy the product and the same amount of stock in the product, then I can't afford the product. Right. Because to me, I'm starting to try to think like that as with an investor mindset, right? Because I don't want that to happen again. Even Tesla and all that, right? Like you could have bought a Tesla for 30,000 2 years ago, but if you would have put that money into Tesla, it would be over 100,000 because the Tesla stock exploded, right? So part of it is like, how do we all start thinking that way, but have ways of being able to do it, right? Because at the end of the day, I know people got bills to pay, right? So how do you invest if you can't even pay your own bills? So that's a huge thing. But you don't have to invest thousands of dollars. You could put $10 at a time. Like whenever you're about to waste money, that's actually how I started buying Ethereum, Bitcoin, even Tesla. I was about to waste $20. I put it in Cash App. All right, I'm buy Tesla instead. Buy Bitcoin instead. You can't buy Ethereum on Cash App. So I started doing that on Coinbase. But when I look up, that money turned into a lot more money versus literally would have been wasted. Literally would have been wasted. So part of why I create this content, I call it Entrepreneur and Investors. The YouTube is called Entrepreneur Investor Connection. Is because there's a connection to this thinking. When you're an entrepreneur, you're just thinking about making money. And when you're an investor, you're thinking about growing money. But when you look and you connect the dots, and you become both, which we all are both, you really start to understand how the world of wealth works. And then you start making money to grow money, right? And that's where I'm lucky enough to get to, but of course I'm very late in my life to start understanding this. But then I work with people like Paco. Paco's 82. He's done it all. And he's like, dude, you still got 40, like literally Paco, we talk and work every day. He's 82. He's never retiring, right? I'm looking at him like, why aren't you retiring? He's like, because I love what I do. Like, why would I retire? I get to do what I love and I make money doing it. What's the point of retiring? I'm just go sit on a beach every day. That's boring. Right. So I'm like, all right. So I got at least 40 more years to be like Paco, hopefully. Right. But I think it's never too late. I think we need to understand this. And look at Paco. I give him these crazy books about the future. And like he said, he reads them and he comes back. He's like, all right, so this is what we got to do. Let's go talk to this person, talk to that person. And in a way, he's more advanced with technology than most people my age because he listens and he reads the books that are the future books, right? So again, he's doing the homework. Part of what I'm creating all of this for is to show you what homework to do, right? Because I do believe if you do the homework, you'll be in a much better position than most people in the world. Again, I'm talking to you about things that 5% of the world have right now. And most of the richest people in the world believe it's the future. And that is cryptocurrency, stock, this whole decentralized finance thing, NFTs. These are all like situations that are coming up and they're brand new. Like I'm talking about less than a year old where the public actually has taken to it. Blockchain is 10 years old. All right. Doing homework so important. All right, BX Blanco, what's up? I got Twitch going. Good looking out. All right. As we get older, folks forget to do their homework. So another big thing that I'm glad you said that, BX Blanco, because what I see is I didn't go to a 4-year college. I went to community college, right? I messed that up too, but hey, it is what it is. But when you go to a 4-year college, they at the end of your 4 years, they make you do something like a capstone project where you come up with a big idea and you figure it out and you have to work on it as often as possible to make it as good as possible. I believe us as adults, we need to think the same way about our lives, right? Or our big projects and do the same thing we would do for a grade in college. I think right now, when I think about stuff like this, I look at it as a capstone project for myself. And what that capstone project for me is, what's the way to grow my assets so I can live a good life and my kids can live a good life? First, I looked at real estate. I didn't understand real estate. I came from tech, right? I was doing technology. I could have owned real estate, and I was like, why own real estate? I don't care. I'd rather spend the money on other things and then buy a house one day, right? But that's not what most will do. Then I said, okay, what am I really doing though? I'm trying to get stock in companies early. That's where my goal was. But I really didn't fully understand how that worked either. I just felt like, oh, I'm the tech guy. I'm going to own equity in this. And when it's worth $10 million, I'll make $1 million and I'll be good. I didn't understand it. So I had to go in and make sure I fully understood it. So I started doing the research. I started working on it on my own, doing my own homework. Then I understood it a lot more. And when I started understanding it a lot more, I could have conversations with investors that I couldn't have before. So then I started having conversations with investors. And because I did the homework, the conversation was different, right? I was able to have conversations where they're like, whoa, actually nobody has ever said that, because not as many people came from the tech side and now knew investment, right? Like I was able to know because I did the homework. And now I'm looking at crypto and I'm like, wait a minute, that's the future of all this. But they're not doing the homework yet. So I'm doing the homework. And again, when I come to investors and I talk to them about NFTs and this and that, they're like, whoa, what are you even talking about? I don't even understand what you're talking about. Then they go and do the homework. Then they're like, oh my God, this is a humongous opportunity. So I'm bringing you literally into the same world that I'm moving in. And I'm trying to give you the same exact books and understanding of things so you can take advantage. How can you take advantage though? I keep saying it. Just start. Pretty much most people in this room, I know, have bought some form of cryptocurrency, and I've literally helped them create wallets, buy Ethereum, buy Bitcoin. And I don't think everybody in here I've helped do that, but most, right? But at the same time, what I'm looking at is, okay, that's the first step. And I want you all to go down the rabbit hole, start looking, start reading, start watching videos, and then start making your own decisions about where you think things are going. And then really start going in for yourself and your family and your history. So for me, where I see right now, and I'm spending my time, I'm really understanding more about NFTs. I'm definitely understanding as much as I can around owning stock in companies. And that doesn't mean, that means early stage, late stage, companies that are public, companies that are not public. And there's a lot to that. I just did a major deal with a publicly traded company where they gave me stock. And I literally had to have a lawyer walk me through how it worked for like 3 weeks before I signed the contract, because I wanted to make sure I fully understood what I was signing up for, what was the upside, the downside. So I was lucky enough to be asked to be a part of this, and it put me in that position to do that homework. And literally 99% of the things that I had to review in that contract, I had never heard of before in my life, right? And now I'm 42, I'm learning about this stuff, and I'm like, whoa, most of the world has no clue how any of this works. I'm lucky enough to, but it all starts in this one place. Put in a little bit of money somewhere, stock, real estate, crypto, and you will start to do the homework. That's the trick. Put skin in the game, and you will start to understand it. Like when I first told, I told a few people in here, you should buy Ethereum on top of Bitcoin. And I know the conversations as after I did that. All right, so what's the difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin? The big difference, how I see it, Jeff, you'll understand this big time. Bitcoin is like a typewriter, and Ethereum is like an iPhone. Like you can do one thing on a typewriter. On an iPhone, you can do 1,000 things, right? That's what the difference of Ethereum is. And that's why I believe it's going to grow more exponentially. So Matic is like an Android, but it's built on the iPhone technology. So all right. So here's the deal. It's actually, yeah, basically, if I had to explain it easier, Ethereum is a highway, right? So if you want to do something, you want to get somewhere fast, you go on the highway. But Matic is like the side streets, right? You need side streets and you need highways. What's happening right now is the highways are being created and the side streets are being created. So you want to invest in both, right? You just don't only want to invest in highways, you want to invest in side streets. Matic is one of the strongest side streets I've seen, and I caught it early enough where it's still pretty cheap. There's some side streets that are further along and they're worth more per coin or per share. Same thing, coin and share, same thing. But Matic is early enough where it feels again like Bitcoin, where I saw it early enough, but I have the opportunity to get in a little bit at a better number. And again, I look at the market cap, right? When I look at there's a big thing you need to understand in investment in any type of company. What is the valuation of that company, right? So let's say I created a startup today and I said I made company XYZ. I believe company XYZ is worth $1 million today. Do you want to invest in it? You say yes or no. If you say yes, you buy shares at the value of $1 million. In 2 years, now it's worth $5 million. You got in at a good deal, right? You bought shares at $1 million. Now it's worth 5. So when you look at these companies and you see the market cap, that's the same idea. So for instance, when I looked at Matic had an $800 million market cap. Sounds like a lot, and it is. The day they put it on where you can borrow against your Matic, it went to a $1.7 billion market cap in one day. So I was like, caught it early. I bought a whole ETH when it was $400. Nice. Did you keep it? I hope you kept it, BX Blanco. So when you see the market cap grow, then the value of your investment just grew, right? Because now your share is worth more, right? So you want to understand the market cap. So when you're looking at all these coins, if you look at a coin and you're like, how is this one worth more than this one by so much? And you can't really make that work in your head or doing the research, then it's probably overvalued and you don't want to invest in it. That's what happened in the dot-com burst, Jeff. So go back all the way back to your question like an hour ago. Basically, what happened in the dot-com bubble was all these companies were doing was making the value of them look bigger and bigger and bigger. So what they were saying is, yeah, this website, pets.com, is worth $2 billion. And people were like, okay, they bought the stock, and then it was realized that it wasn't worth nowhere near that. So then the stock came tumbling, and then the company goes out of business. Right now, some of that could be happening in crypto, but crypto is different because it's based on how much money is inside the business. It's not based on what people think. So that's where there's a difference. And of course, similar things will happen in every industry. People are going to game the system. People are going to put big money in, take big money out to mess with the market caps. That happens even in stock right now and in the public stock market. But all this stuff is homework that you need to start just understanding. Market cap, shares, coins and shares, same thing. value, what makes it worth that, right? Because when I told you at the beginning, right, when I said, I just made a company today, it's worth $1 million. How? You could be like, what makes it worth $1 million? And if I don't give you a substantial answer to that, you could be like, yeah, I don't believe it. And this is what investors do, right? If I was coming to myself and I wanted to invest in my company, and I asked myself, what makes this company worth $1 million? And I said, well, because I say so, I'm not investing in that company, right? But if I said, you know why it's worth $1 million? Because we did X, Y, Z, and we have this many users, and we haven't turned on making money yet. But when we do, this is how we see it's going to happen. Think about Clubhouse. Clubhouse is good. What are you going to say?
I just said, like, why is this company valuable?
Yes.
It's actually tangible.
So think about Clubhouse. Clubhouse makes no money yet. But I think they said Twitter just tried to buy them for $4 billion. Why is that? Because they have other things of value. They have us as users. They have us spending ungodly amount of time in this thing, right? So that is a value that can be monetized in the future. So companies are like, I think it's worth this right now. I'm willing to buy it off of you right now at $4 billion because I believe it'll be worth more later. Is Clubhouse worth $4 billion? It's really up to whoever thinks, right? It is, because at the end of the day, they haven't made any money yet. They just turned on this money feature where you can send people money, but Clubhouse doesn't even get any of that money. But you know what they did? Go ahead.
Miguel, hey, sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Isn't it like the theory of the doing a valuation on a business is usually based on its position in the industry, like that part of the industry that they're in, other companies, like their competitors. So like you're saying, how Clubhouse is not monetizing right now publicly, meaning like the platform doesn't have monetization exchanges, but on the back end, Clubhouse is worth a lot because of the time that we are all spending on it and the data capturing, right?
Yep.
I don't know what they're doing on the back end, like behind the scenes.
So,
but for sure, we can all, just as regular people who have not spent one fucking penny on Clubhouse, but we spend a lot of time, there's a value. It's a resource guide now. Like we're on here now kind of educating each other and building our network. So
I agree.
It kind of depends how you look at the valuation or how, an individual company does, but you could really claim technically any valuation to your company.
Yep.
It's like the same thing as having a piece of art. You say it's a collectible, it's amazing, it's worth this, but you got to find a buyer for it.
Yeah, it's worth what someone will pay for it, right? And you have to convince.
Exactly.
You have to convince them of its value. And you're right, Fresh. Like the idea of right now, we are creating data for Clubhouse. And they're saying the data that we've collected and are creating is worth more than $4 billion. So we're not selling it to you. Twitter, I think it was just try to buy it for $4 billion. And they said no. But they just turned on a feature to monetize, right? But they weren't monetizing for themselves. They're monetizing for us. So basically they made it so we all could make money off Clubhouse because people can send you money in the rooms. I don't know. And as an entrepreneur and an investor, I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, why did they do that? Right? First thing they did is they want to keep people on the platform more. So one of the major hiccups is nobody's making money on Clubhouse. So it's better to be on YouTube or Facebook or wherever else is actually Twitch, wherever that there are opportunities to make money. So Clubhouse said, all right, we need to fix that to make sure our users don't leave. So they said, we don't even care if we make money or not. We just want our users to stay. But in the back end, I know this because I work in the investment world, they did a deal with Stripe. So the company that you pay through is Stripe. So if you send me $1, Stripe has a fee. Clubhouse doesn't pay a fee. The person who sends the dollars pays the fee. But they did a deal with Stripe. Stripe is an early investor in Clubhouse. So what happens? Clubhouse wins because now their partner makes money. And I'm sure they make money on the back end of however much percent comes in through Clubhouse. I'm sure they're making money off of it, but they don't charge us, and it doesn't look like they're charging us. It looks like Stripe is charging us, which Stripe is huge. Stripe, Amazon uses Stripe. So Stripe is a good way of taking in money for commerce on the online. But again, Stripe is in trouble because of cryptocurrency. Right now, every time you send money from Stripe or receive money from Stripe, there's fees. The fees in cryptocurrency are like so much smaller than any credit card, any Stripe type service, any bank. Literally, there was a transaction the other day of like $10 billion in Bitcoin, and it was like $40. It cost like $40 to do a $10 billion exchange of money. That is insane. When I tell you about Matic, it cost less than a cent.
Somebody's machine too, like somebody like at home's machine.
Say it again. It was done off a machine of a computer, right?
Yeah, it was like somebody's personal machine. Because like now with Bitcoin mining being accessible, I wouldn't be surprised if part of that 10 billion was done at somebody's home in Albuquerque.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's the thing about Bitcoin. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing though. Like right now, I remember the first time I was trying to pay someone because I work, I have agency. I work with people around the world, and I couldn't pay this person through PayPal. And I tried to pay them because they had something off with PayPal. So I was like, "Can I pay you through Ethereum?" And he was like, "Well, my country doesn't allow it." But when I had looked at how much it was going to cost me to send him the money, it would have been better for both of us by far than any other option. I had to go to the bank and do a wire transfer, which cost me $40 to send him the money. And then his side, they were going to charge him too. It was going to cost me like pennies to send it to him, but he couldn't because his country didn't allow it. So now these countries, this was like years ago, right? So now these countries there's less resistance, but also less options for them to stop it because it's becoming so big. And there's many ways of getting around using it that they can't really stop. That's why, again, I look at it and I say, okay, I feel comfortable talking about it right now because, of course, countries are going to try to control money supply, but they can't control open source code. Like, this is the whole world working together to create money. And it's borderless. It's literally nobody controls this, and no one person. It's a community. It's the world currency. It's becoming the world currency. And I'm not just talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about crypto in general. So that's why I feel comfortable. And this is one of the reasons I'm talking about it as much as I am right now. I do believe the number one way to change your situation right now is look at these worlds, these industries, and figure out how to create companies around them. Because like what I saw, like I said, in the 2000s, and actually I worked with some of these people in this room in the 2000s. We worked on websites and stuff like that together, but we were working as employees instead of owners. Like I felt like I created a ton of value for people and I didn't reap any of the reward except getting paid my hourly rate, which sure, that's what we're taught, right? Be a worker. But now I'm learning that the real game is to own equity in any way you can, either by buying stock, sweat equity, however it is. And right now, I honestly believe this is a bigger time in history than the 2000 time was. There's going to be more trillionaires made right now than ever in history based off these technologies.
Yep, Miguel, just as you just used the term sweat equity, right now, in this moment, with all of us in this room on Clubhouse, we are technically putting in sweat equity if we were smart enough to then invest in Clubhouse when they do go finally public. Just like if, because really think about it, if we would have like bought stock in Apple when it first came out, or even Instagram or Facebook, because we are the people that are driving that product.
100%. 100%.
Business. Right now, this is sweat equity into Clubhouse, straight up.
100%.
So the second they go public, or I have an opportunity to go in, I'm doing it. I'm
Same here.
Down.
Same here. The big difference, though, is when we're able to buy into it, the real people made all their money already. They made, so like what I told you, Stripe invested in Clubhouse. They invested in Clubhouse before it was even worth $4 billion, right? So now that it's worth $4 billion, their money is already multiplied. By the time it hits the public, it's going to be worth $100 billion. And then we're investing at $100 billion market cap instead of investing when it's 1 million, 5 million, right? That's why I say we're in this huge opportunity, because we missed out on Clubhouse because we weren't credit investors, venture capitalists. But the next things that come out, we can invest in them when they're worth a few $1 million or even under $1 billion, which is crazy to say, right? But like, if we would have been able to invest in Clubhouse before it was worth $1 billion, we would have 4x'd our value already, right? That's the difference. There's now more in place for people like us to invest when the market cap is at its lowest. And that has never been possible before. Never, ever, ever. And we're seeing now the world is waking up to the investment world, but they're still not understanding that the market cap thing is possible now. So this is why I say these altcoins and equity crowdfunding, and Rick Ricardo says Coinbase is going public this week. I highly suggest people look at that. I may not buy it day one, but I'm 100% owning part of Coinbase, because Coinbase is the number one way to buy cryptocurrency. So it's 100% going to grow, right? So when you look at Coinbase, Nas invested in Coinbase when it was super early because he had the connection and he had a venture capital firm. So he's going to make out like a bandit because he probably invested in when it was worth $5 million. And they're going to go public at like 90 billion or some crazy number like that. Think about that jump. When I talked about cryptocurrency going up 20x, everybody probably in the room almost fell out their chair. Think about what X that is, from 5 to 90 billion. That's the type of money that these investors are making when they invest early. That's why they do it. They invest in 100 companies, like I said. Coinbase was one of the ones that wins, and it's not the only one. They get like, the average is like 10% become what's called unicorns. Unicorns are what billion-dollar companies are. So if you start and you invest or you create a company and they call you a unicorn, is because you got to $1 billion. What's happening now with cryptocurrency is $1 billion is nothing, because now it's the whole world. So if you think about a market, and we're talking about the US mostly, that's a small part of the world. Cryptocurrency, I said, is the world currency. So 5% of the world is worth a lot of money, right? So, and imagine being the Amazon for the whole world. Amazon is one of the highest market cap companies. Apple's the number one. I think Amazon's number two. And imagine coming up with the Amazon killer that we can own at 1 cent. Amazon stock is like $1,000 right now, whatever it is. Think about that. Think about that jump. So this is why, like, I'm going to keep creating content around this. I want to keep the Q&As going, because I believe we're sitting in this rare moment where all this stuff is happening and it's brand new. Most people don't even understand it's happening. I'm lucky enough to be in the meeting, see it happen, but I don't know how to get as many people to understand it as possible better than this, right? Creating the content. Amazon is $3,000 per stock right now. Wow, I didn't know that. So yeah, right, questions.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I'm like, does Coinbase accept all cryptocurrency, or is it limited?
So here's the deal too. I'm glad you asked that question. Coinbase only adds coins once they reach a certain market cap or a certain viability in their world, because they don't want to put coins that have a little bit of risk on their platform and have blowback, right? So they wait till you get to a certain market cap, then they say, okay, this is legit. Why I tell you about Matic is because they did it with Matic before it reached the market cap that they normally allow in the app. So that to me was another sign that I was like, oh, they basically calling it. Like, if you're going to put them in way before you put most other coins, you're saying something about that coin. So again, but that takes us understanding all these sides, right? Like, I understood that they put it in at a certain market cap, and they putting this coin in that's nowhere near that market cap. They're kind of calling it, right? They're saying, "Oh, this is going to be a winner. We want it in now." Right.
That's what the stock market does. This is what the New York Stock Exchange does, and that's why Wall Street exists. They make decisions on whether or not companies can go public and accept public money.
But this is the thing with cryptocurrency, they don't have to, like, you can go and find Matic. I bought Matic before it was on Coinbase because I know how. I know how to walk into the matrix and say, I'll take 2 of those, 3 of those. Most people don't know, right? So I was able, because how do I know it? Because I started looking at decentralized finance. Decentralized finance showed me how to buy coins before they hit Coinbase, right? That was, again, me going down that rabbit hole. And when I saw Matic, I actually heard Coinbase was going to list Matic before most people. So I was like, oh, man. So I bought it before it even hit Coinbase, right? And it jumped. When I bought it, it was like 30 cents. Now it's 37 cents. And that don't sound like a lot. But again, that's a big percent jump. And imagine it gets to $1, $2, $3. And $30, $300, right? So the idea is, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, how can I get in the best ideas at the lowest market cap, right? That's basically my plan. Get in the best ideas at the lowest market cap. That's any investor. That's what they want, right? But now I'm creating this so you guys can start to really like think in that same way. And of course, we bring back change your IP. What's that mean, Ricardo? I want you to think the same way, because that's how you'll start to understand opportunity, right? But again, I had to go down a lot of different rabbit holes to understand all this stuff. I had to really understand what made a company valuable. I had to understand what makes a company do well versus companies that don't do well, right? So I'm going to give you some of the things that I look at. I look to see if the team is public. One of the biggest things I've learned in working with investors is the team is the number one most important thing out of everything. More important than even the idea is the team. So when you see these coins and you don't see the team, that's scary to me, right? I don't really do it. If I don't see the team, and not just see the team, because you can make people's faces with AI. I literally want to see their Twitter, see if they're on LinkedIn, see and say, okay, they're legitimate. This team is legitimate. Another big thing you want to check is longevity, right? Because anybody could pop out with anything right now, right? But if these people have been working on things like it for a few years and now they popped up, that makes a little bit more sense to me, right? All my partnerships are with people I know for like 10 years plus, right? So there's a way to check that, right? There's a way, if I ever came out with something and I'm like, oh, I work with person X, there's a way to look and say, oh, they know each other for years, right? With these, you can't really do that as well. You got to really do your homework. Then I look at the Twitter. Because Twitter's actually really popular in crypto. So I look at the Twitter, see what's going on. Matic, for instance, I went to Matic the other day. They got like 300,000 followers and they didn't not too long ago. And I'm like, oh, this is popping, right? So again, then I look at the Discord. Discord is like their community chat. It's kind of like an app like WhatsApp, but for business in a way, business and gaming. So a lot of them have a Discord. And when you go in their Discord, if you see a lot of people in there interacting, you're like, there's some traction here. People are into this. So if you got the team, you got the traction, and you believe in what they're doing. So like I keep talking about Matic, and I don't want to be like a pusher of it. But when I look and I watch the videos about what they're doing, and then I hear Mark Cuban bring it up, and Mark Cuban is bringing up, he's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Matic, and I'm like, yo, I'm hearing this way too much. Like, it's again 30 cents. I'm not gonna make the same. I doubt it'll ever get to $60,000 a coin, but still, even if it gets to $30 a coin, I win big time, right? So I'm trying to learn like that, because I'm not at the investment point where I can invest in 100 companies, right? So, but I can invest in a lot at $100 at a time, right? Even if you take 1,000 and you put it on 10 companies, better odds than putting 1,000 on one company, right? So, and then I'm talking about doing that, but then I could borrow money against my crypto and do it more, right? So I actually did that. Part of what I did with the money I borrowed was I put money in Matic. So again, I had money that was just going to sit in Coinbase and grow slowly. It's going to, I mean, faster than most things with Bitcoin and Ethereum. But then I took it, I borrowed against it, put it on 2 coins that are already up 300, and then I put more on Matic. So those 3 coins I would not even own if I didn't borrow against my own money, right? So now I'm in 3 games that I wouldn't even be in. And if Matic explodes, I made a bunch of money off money that was not even mine. That's the power of being your own bank, right? And you know, I know it's been 2.5 hours, and if we can keep it going, any other questions on anything I just said? I know I'm saying a lot of crazy stuff, so let me know.
Is that how traditional banking started with like what you just said you did? Is that
100%? That's how it is right now. Banks lend out 10 times more money than they have.
And this is why all of this is so fucking disruptive.
100%. 100%. This is why I say you just got to get in there and start understanding it. Even if you just go from buying Bitcoin and then buy Ethereum and you see the difference, like I said, once you realize you can't do shit with Bitcoin, Bitcoin is literally like gold. You can't really do anything with it. But then you buy Ethereum and it's like you're in the matrix with Ethereum and you could do almost everything. There's literally, I bought a coin where people are gambling on soccer, playing poker, and it's all like happening through Ethereum. It's crazy. And you could do banking. You could do all this crazy stuff. Like they're going to build entire $1 trillion businesses off Ethereum. And Bitcoin is just going to sit there and look good, pretty much, right? So, but again, that doesn't mean you don't get it. You buy it, but you borrow off of it. You don't just sit there. Like gold, right? People buy gold and they keep it, they hide it places, they store it. But now you can borrow off your gold. You know, it's pretty crazy.
I think it's just hard for everyone to understand because it feels like this animated cartoon Harry Potter world.
Yeah, you know? I'm not gonna lie, you're right.
You know, so I think like hearing someone like you who, you know, I trust, I know, it makes it more real. That's super important that you keep, I guess, being this voice because, I mean, I was hesitant at first, but I did. I own some Bitcoin now. I own Ethereum. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it all yet. I'm still like listening and, you know, absorbing all the info. I haven't minted any NFTs. Like I want to get into all of it, but it is this like fantasy, sci-fi, crazy, weird world.
Yeah, but you went down. You started going down the rabbit hole. Me and Fresh, we've had many conversations about it. Most of you here, and again, it takes your own path, right? It comes back to that college thing where it's like, all right, now you got to take your own path of what you're interested in. Most people got really into Ethereum through NFTs because they're like, all right, I want to buy an NFT, and I'm like, well, you can't buy an NFT unless you got Ethereum. They're like, can I use Bitcoin? And I was like, nah, you can't. And they're like, why? And I'm like, all right, you really should go down the rabbit hole, but you're going to understand that Bitcoin can't really do shit. You're going to have to wrap your Bitcoin to send it to an exchange and then change it to Ethereum. All this crazy, it's like craziness when it's like, you can just buy Ethereum and buy stuff. And that whole mental gymnastics goes too, right? So you got to get in there and start doing it to understand it. It's going to take time, but the sooner you do it, the sooner it will work. Derek, you asking a question?
Yeah, I wanted to know, like, what are the terms of the loans, like when you take them out against your own Bitcoin or your own Ethereum?
The terms are, there's a variable interest rate. The highest I've seen on the interest rate on compound finance, if you borrow DAI, there's a whole nother part of the rabbit hole that you can borrow different types of coins, but you want to borrow what's called stable coin because stable coins are matched to the dollar. So right now, let's say I borrowed Ethereum. Let's say I own Ethereum and I borrow more Ethereum. As Ethereum fluctuates, my loan fluctuates, right? But if I buy something that's close to the dollar, then I know I borrowed $1,000 and that's all I borrowed. And now I just got to pay back $1,000. But if you borrow Ethereum 1,000 and now it's 2,000, you owe 2,000, right? Instead of owing one. So what I do is I borrow stable coin and it's a variable interest rate. The highest interest rate I've seen is like 9%. It jumps between like 6, 9. Every day I look, it's like 7, 4, 7, 6. But you see how much you owe, right? So for instance, I said I borrowed $1,000 off Ethereum when it was $1,400. And even now to this day, when I look, it's still not even $7 interest I owe. And it's not like I need to pay a monthly payment either. Basically, they say, look, whenever you want, pay it back. But if it ever gets to the point where your interest is higher than the amount of collateral you have in there. So let's say one day my interest has built up and now it's worth, let's say Ethereum is worth 2,500 at that point, and my interest now is 2,501, they're going to take my Ethereum. So as long as I keep it from reaching that point, I never have to pay it back. The big thing is, I believe Ethereum is going to grow big time. So if I got $1,000 worth of loan on something that's 2,000 right now, and one day is going to be 20,000, I never have to pay it if I don't want. I could just pay off $50 at a time if I want. Think about this. Let's say I was about to buy a cell phone and I didn't have the money and I was going to put it on a credit card. How much interest would I need to pay that, right? Or I got to pay monthly to Verizon for the phone and I end up paying almost double for the phone. Instead, I could borrow off myself at 7% interest and pay myself back whenever I want. That's what I mean about like this. This is a game-changing thing. So everything I said, I get interest on my Ethereum. The Ethereum grows in value. The interest is by the day. So if I pay it back early, I get no penalty. What bank doesn't give you early penalty for paying off a loan? Most of them do, right? All of them. So this is all things that, how the hell banks are going to compete with this? I don't even see how they can. I literally spoke to no one, didn't go into any branch, didn't have to give my ID, literally had it in minutes. There's no way banks are going to do this. So that's where I see a huge opportunity. Go ahead.
Let's talk about stability and who mints the U.S. dollar?
Yeah, I don't know. The Fed? I don't know. How does that work?
The U.S. government does.
Okay.
Why do we use this green currency with, white guys on there, Benjamin Franklin on the C note, to pay caddies? Why do we do that?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, we trust the U.S. government because they make this little piece of paper that it's going to exist tomorrow, right?
Sure.
Like, we trust that the U.S. government can monitor their borders really well, their, jurisdiction, and that they're going to provide a safe place for commerce to happen, right? And they have these little pieces of paper because it's easier to buy a chicken parm sandwich with a dollar bill than it is with a goat.
For sure.
And so when you're talking about stable coins that are pegged to the trust that we have in a nation state, like in the United States government.
There's
right?
different stable coins too. You can buy Europe stable coin, but of course we're in US, so I'll use US.
A nation state, yeah, we're like any government, right? They build roads, they build bridges, they, have a police force, they do a bunch of different things, right? Like they have a rule of law, right? Where we can operate happily.
But this is the thing, right? Just before I forget, I don't want to forget this point. In a way, cryptocurrency is the same thing, but we create the law. We are the governance of these coins, That's a major difference. That's why I also want everybody to own it. Yeah.
No taxes.
Yeah.
Right?
Borderless.
This is everyone around the world contributing to, the transfer of wealth, the transfer of ideas, the transfer of exchange. Like
this is why I say, like, it's unacceptable not to do the homework. We're literally seeing the birth of new money, new business, new levels of trust, globalization. This is like insane amount of things happening at the same time, all within the same piece of technology. And it just reminds me of when I didn't pay attention to it, right? And I'm like, okay, how can I help push people along? Because I know a lot of this stuff is super technical, but it's not that technical. The more you do the homework, you start to understand the pieces. And once you understand each piece, you start to feel like, all right, this is not that crazy. The first piece is trust. Like you just said it, Andrew. Most people are scared. Like you said it fresh too. This sounds like cartoon imaginary money stuff. I felt the same way the first time I saw it. And I was like, this is 30 cents, but I'm throwing my money into the abyss. Where is this money going? I don't know what this means. I didn't, but again, it was like brand new. So there wasn't as much out there for me to do the homework. I literally was with a programmer. We were working on something together. And he's like, look, there's the new money. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We got to finish this website. I ain't got time for this. Right. And he's like, oh, I'm telling you, this is going to be I wonder, I got to ask him if he bought, but he basically understood it more than me because he was more of a developer than I was. I was just, doing whatever I needed to do to make the money, but he really understood it more, but he couldn't explain it to me as well as I needed explained at that time. Because if he would have, I'd be rich and probably not doing this content. But at the end of the day, right now, I'm trying to be that for you guys, right? At the end of the day, I could have talked about it earlier, but I'll be honest, even from my own, I have my own reservations of, do I believe this is going to work? I don't want to tell people stuff. And then everybody's like, oh, see, you told me to put money in this and it's gone. I didn't know. I didn't know if it will come back from the time when it went way down. It was like 20,000. It went to 5. But then it came back. And I'm like, man, now that the institutions are going to get in here and decentralized finance right now is being started, literally right now, there's no way for it to go back. What you said, Andrew?
More than institutions, governments.
Governments, you're right.
Literally, governments. A stable coin is pegged to the United States dollar. Right? It doesn't fluctuate that much because we know that if, I create my Andrew coin,
yeah.
Andrew could go get hit by a bus tomorrow. Well, the likelihood that the United States government is going to exist tomorrow is pretty high. It's higher than the chances,
Sure. You're right. And that's the thing, right? At the end of the day, there is risk. But America, America's a few hundred years old, right? It's not the oldest society in the world. Things come and go. And I'm not saying America's going anywhere, but a lot of people look at this and say, look at what happened in South America. South America, the government literally changed the money overnight and it was worth nothing. And all these people had to go on Bitcoin. They all put it in crypto because it was safer than their current dollar of the country. So not to say that's going to happen in America, but nothing's out of this world, right? So at the end of the day, and I don't look at it like that. I do look at it as eventually innovation cannot be stopped. If you see something, and I've just seen it so many times where it's like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how they're going to try to stop that. They try, they can't. It keeps happening. So what I've realized is once you create an innovation that makes it cheaper, easier, and impossible to compete with, there's just a matter of time. So I didn't fully understand that about Bitcoin until the pandemic. Because once I realized that people are not going to want to pay with cash, right? Because they were like, you could get COVID from the cash. And I was like, huh, all right. So there's this digital money thing is going to happen. Why would you pay in digital dollars when you can pay in digital crypto that's going to grow in value and you could do more with it? So I started saying, all right, let me play around a little bit more with this stuff, start to understand it. Then around the summer, I started to really understand it and be like, holy shit, there's nothing that can currently compete with this. Like, I can't even see how something comes out that's better than this. Maybe it will. And when we get there, we get there. But right now, they literally solved every single problem that's solvable. Like basically scarcity, to be able to send it anywhere instantly, not have to have it physically, right? Like, so, and the government not to be able to corrupt it. That's a big one, right? The government literally just changed our dollar value by printing up billions of dollars to give it to everyone. And of course, we needed it as a nation, but it screws up the dollar value, right? And who knows what happens because of that, right? So they literally figured out, okay, this is how we go against that. And then how do we make it so nobody could fuck with it? One of the major things, we're going to head to this part of the society and technology too. It's called pseudonyms. The person who invented it, we don't even know who it is. They made their name a pseudonym, Satoshi. So nobody knows who created this. That's part of the fear, but it's open source code. And as a technologist, what I understand about open source code is it's a community. So not one person has a say. Basically, the community votes on what happens with the technology. They vote by contributing, and they vote by actually voting on what happens next. That's why crypto is so important, because literally they're doing that with money. They're doing that with business. They're doing that with the stock market in the same exact way. Go ahead, Andrew.
I trust the community more than I trust the United States government.
100%. Me too. That's why I say, once I saw it bounce back from that real low and I started to see little things about the trust in the network, there can't be a 51% attack, which means nobody can take over 51% of Bitcoin anymore. It's impossible. So what that means is nobody can hack it. So once that happened, I was like, okay. And there was enough history of seeing it bounce back where I was like, this is just going to keep doing this. And then why I told my father and the different investors when I was in DR to buy was because of the Trump administration ending. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen when the Trump administration ends, but I feel like people are going to want to get out of the dollar a little bit more. The investors that invested heavy with Trump, usually what happens is the Republicans, they move their money out when Democrats come in. And I was like, where are they going to put it? They're going to put it in Bitcoin. And I don't know if I was right, but it 5x'd after that, right? So I was just looking at things and I was like, I just can see this thing growing more. But then I started watching YouTube stuff, reading, and they were like, well, every time the government prints up money, Bitcoin grows. So I was like, whoa, that's going to keep happening for a while because of COVID. So might as well put some money in and see what happens. And it kept going. And I'm like, holy shit. Then I learned about Ethereum more and more because I was literally using Ethereum to pay people. I was paying developers in Ethereum. And I was not understanding it had all this other stuff. I just knew I couldn't pay them Bitcoin because Bitcoin's a pain in the ass, right? But Ethereum's easier to move around. So I had Ethereum, right? And then when I started to understand you could literally build entire businesses on Ethereum, I was like, this is crazy. You can't do anything with Bitcoin. And then when NFTs, I knew NFTs were going to come around because the Blockchain Revolution, that book, it was talking about stuff like that. And I was like, one day there's going to be a way where people are going to, the trust is going to be eliminated. It's not going to be a thing where, do I have to trust if you own this or this loan is going to be called back? It's all in that book. So when it started happening, I was like, holy shit, it's happening faster than I thought it would. I better be in this game. I'm going to be in this game, right? So I said, all right, how do I get in the game? Start doing my homework. One of the most places I did my homework, Clubhouse. I'll be literally in these rooms, listening to the pros, asking my questions the same way right now. You guys ain't here listening to me. I go in these rooms and I'm like, yeah, but what happens is this. Oh, all right, I didn't know that. Let me go watch a YouTube video too, right? So I do my homework like that. And this is where Clubhouse has been like amazing. You can get, it's literally like going to Harvard and to the top conferences in the same day of any topic you could imagine. So pretty much I did my homework in DeFi here. I did my homework in NFTs here. Then I went, of course, took it offline, did more homework, did it myself. I made my own NFT, made my own bank. And I started to say, all right, now how do I get more people to understand this? Let me start the Clubhouse room, right? So now my biggest thing is I want to see if I give you guys homework. Let's see how many of you, one, own Ethereum by the next time we meet next Sunday. I'm going to start doing these on Sundays at 11 and 8 for you West Coasters. And then I'm going to start pointing you to these websites and see if you can do it. If you can do it without help, because what I want to start to see is what are the issues you have in doing it. And then I can say, all right, so this is what I got to talk about, right? Because I have my own issues, but it's just me and I figured it out, right? But I want to make sure that I'm making it as frictionless as possible because I honestly, I really believe this is one of the biggest times in history and we're catching it. We're here as minorities. We're catching it and we could take advantage of that. And I'm talking to you too, Andrew. We are here and we can really reap the reward of being early with not that much money. I'm talking about with $500, you can literally create your own bank. This is like fucking crazy. It's just a crazy time. Like, and you could also own part of the next Amazon. With part of that $500, of course, you got to bet on the right horse. Who knows what that is? I know I bet on a bunch, and as Ethereum grows and Bitcoin grows, I get to bet on more because literally my collateral grows, so I could borrow more money off that collateral, and it's the same money I put in. Of course, I'm putting more in too, but remember what I said? I bought Ethereum was $88. It grew to $2,000, right? So if I borrowed and I'm borrowing off more than I even put in, right? So it's like, it's growing and it's going to keep growing. And I'm able to borrow off that growth. That's fucking crazy. You can't even do that with real estate. Real estate don't grow that fast. And with Ethereum, because of NFTs, I think people are gonna have a lot of Ethereum. So what happens with NFTs? When you buy an NFT, it's just like money in your pocket. You buy something, you get change, but you don't spend the change, right? So you just end up with a lot of change. That's what's happening with Ethereum right now. A lot of people are buying NFTs, paying gas fees, but they got a bunch of Ethereum still in their wallets. And more people are buying Ethereum and buying NFTs and doing decentralized finance. Ethereum is going to grow like crazy once the world understands what it does. And the second big thing that's going to happen is the gas fee is going to go down to almost nothing, the same way it is already on Matic. So right now you could borrow and do all the same thing I told you could do on Ethereum. You could do it on Matic for like fractions of a penny. That's another reason why Matic is crazy. You can't do that with any coin. You could do it with Matic. So Ethereum is worth $2,000 a coin. If Matic goes to $2,000 a coin, I'll invite you all to my island. My private jet will come pick you up and take you and bring you back. That's how much Matic I'm at. Everybody gets a flight out to the island and back, and limo take you home too. But again, who knows? I could be totally wrong. Matic could go down to zero. Who the hell knows? But it's better to be in it, than not, right? Scare money makes no money.
I'm gonna remember that,
Miguel. Joanna, you can make an NFT. You're gonna have Ethereum too, yeah. And Matic, you gotta get that Matic. But yeah, I took a picture so all of you get the flight Free jet flight to my island.
I'm gonna screenshot this as well.
Right now.
What you said?
I said, let's go to St. Vincent right now.
Well, Matic is still 30 cents, so I can't do it.
So I have a question. So I did my I got that link that you sent me for the Coinbase. I opened up a Coinbase. I could only get $50, I guess, because of my account. I don't know. I had to apply for. I guess there was like a limit since I just opened it.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you buy Matic?
Okay, so here's so Jeff just hit me too. He had a similar problem with his bank. That happens a lot. Guess why? Guess why banks don't want you to buy crypto? I'm talking decentralized finance is taking them out, and they start to see it. 100%. So I literally had to. Luckily, I bank with a community bank. I literally had to talk to the owner of the bank to open up the opportunity for me to move money the way I wanted to into crypto. Not to say you have to do that, but what I do is I open up an account on multiple platforms. So I use Gemini and Coinbase, both American. One is going to be public, the other one's not public yet. The other one is actually Gemini is made by the Winklevoss twins, who are the ones that sued Facebook because the guy stole the idea. They're big into crypto. So what I do is I have multiple apps, and I reach the limit on both. I try to reach the limit on both if I want to move stuff fast, because the bank will limit you and the app will limit you until you start. They like build you up. You can't just make the app today and put $25,000 in. They won't allow that, right? They want to make sure you're not like, they're gonna want your ID. They're gonna, it's just there's steps. So maybe till your ID is not verified, they won't let you go over something. Oh, okay.
I verified it. I was actually going to just do a wire, but I'm like, really? Do I really need to just
see? You have to pay $40. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's the first part. The first part of your question is they're not gonna want you to take money out as fast as you can on banks. Second part is on Coinbase, regular Coinbase, you can't buy Matic yet. You can buy it on Coinbase Pro. Unless I'm wrong, maybe they switched it to Coinbase, but like last week, I was telling people, and you have to go on Coinbase Pro.
What is Matic on the Polygon?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I was able to buy some Matic
on Coinbase.
On signing in through my bank, but then again, when I went to buy Ethereum, it limited me, so it wants me to basically make a debit card transaction.
That's interesting. That means they put Matic on Coinbase. That's even crazier, because before it was only on Coinbase Pro. So here's how it works. Coinbase has regular Coinbase and Coinbase Pro. Coinbase Pro is where they put the coins that are lower market cap, but they still have the viability that Coinbase wants them to have. So regular Coinbase didn't have Matic last time I checked. Now that they moved it there, that's another huge sign to me. I'm buying more. I'm borrowing more against myself to buy more. What?
It's like double-A baseball.
Exactly. They just brought them up to the pros. Yeah, pretty much. They're giving them a chance to swing with at the pro pitchers.
So now I have one more question.
Oh, real quick before I forget this, ask your question. And guess what's happening next week? Coinbase is going IPO. They believe that every coin on Coinbase will grow huge once it IPOs. Why is that? Because once Coinbase IPOs, it's literally telling the stock world it's okay to do this crypto thing. And they're all going to go in Coinbase, look at what coins are there, and buy them. Now Matic is there. So I'm like, holy shit, I want to make sure I buy more Matic before Coinbase IPOs. But go ahead. What are you going to say?
Okay, so I actually bought Bitcoin a while ago, but I have it all in the Robinhood app.
Oh,
Can I move that, or how do I? Or is there?
You're gonna have to sell it and then buy it again. You can't move it. You don't own it in Robinhood. Robinhood is like you renting it in a way. You just basically hold it for you, and whenever you want to sell it, they'll give you the new value, but you don't own it, so you can't borrow against it. So if you want to, here's the real thing. Even if you own regular Bitcoin, you can't borrow against it. You have to wrap it. So in Coinbase, there's BTC and WBTC. So whenever I buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, I don't buy BTC, I buy WBTC. What I end up doing is I send that WBTC into my MetaMask wallet, and then I borrow against that. You can't do shit with Bitcoin. Remember, I tell you, Bitcoin is like literally digital gold. You can't do anything with it.
It's not liquid at all.
It's kind of liquid. You can sell it, but you can't do shit with it. Yeah.
And buy a Tesla if you had enough.
Yeah, but even that, I would never buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. What I would do is I will borrow against my Bitcoin and buy a Tesla. You don't want to give up the collateral. That's like selling your house to buy another house when you can borrow off the house.
Yeah.
And buy another house, you know? So I know we on this is 3 hours. It was 3 hours. This is the longest stream I've ever did. I thank you all, and I should definitely go get food and stuff. But I hope this was helpful.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Glad you guys came. I'm gonna do it again next Sunday at 11. So if you're up for it, I'll keep it going. Definitely buy some Ethereum, buy some Matic. Trust me, you're gonna remember this. Remember I told you,
Yeah.
and I want to go to your island too for free. So
Miguel, text me about what Maddox. I wanna do that.
Okay.
Get in on that.
I will do that. All right. Thanks everybody for coming through. Like, subscribe, whatever. Thank you again. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
Thanks, Mix.
Peace.
Miguel, I'm gonna try to hit you up separately.
All right, cool.